You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
Oh, the great Freddy T. We're going to have to wait another year. We did this with the great Tony Baselli, and now we in Jacksonville will be mad for this day, and no Hall of Fame for Freddy in 2025. So what about 2026 and beyond? And come on, Hall of Fame folks. There are plenty of people to get in the Hall of Fame, and you only picked 4 guys? A lot of criticism for that, especially with guys like Freddie T, who should be in. I think a guy like Adam Vinatieri, who should be in. Eli Manning, you could debate whether he's in, and I know we have these debates, certainly, but come on, let's get them in. They're worthy of candidates of being in, so we shouldn't be going under the number. Some people have a big, this crazy test to get into the Hall of Fame for people. I'm not one of those. Like, I think you should be in. You should be in. It doesn't matter if you think it's the Hall of Very Good. Your opinion on very good is someone else's greatness, and I think the greatness adds up, or these guys wouldn't be finalists. So it's disappointing, and I know Fred's got to be disappointed. I know a lot of people in Jacksonville are disappointed, but I also can't say it's surprising if I'm sitting here and being honest. Hey, it's a Friday, and it's a Friday presented by Al's Pizza. Get ready, the station. I'm on the road, but get ready for the station because you're getting Al's Pizza today. I don't even know if they know that, but later this morning into the lunch hour, the whole Action News Jax team is going to get some Al's Pizza. Oh, nice hat. You got the lid, too. Good job, Hamby.
Yes, sir.
We got some hats. I don't get the pizza, but I got the hat. So I'll have to save me some leftovers for when I get back on the weekend for Super Bowl Sunday, if you don't mind. So a little bit more with Al's Pizza coming up throughout the show, but a Friday shout out to the legendary Al's Pizza, obviously been around for a long time in the River City. Brent Martineau here in Panama City Beach, PCB. They mentioned that in a couple of songs, usually like the country songs. Have you ever visited Panama City Beach?
Many times.
Oh, you're a veteran. What's funny is like I've never been to Destin, and since we've made it to Florida 17 years ago, coming up actually on 17 years, March 1st, and everybody says Destin, or Horseshoe Beach, is it, or Rosemary Beach, or one of those, like something like that, and I've never been. We always want to go, just never have brought us all the way there. But we have been to Panama City. We had a travel ball tournament years ago when the kids were younger in Panama City Beach. Great trip out here. And now Kaylee's got a little softball weekend, so we came over and we'll be watching some junior college softball. They tell me some of the best teams in the country are here. We're playing some like nationally ranked teams today, so from Mississippi and other places. So we're going to see how good we are today at Old Daytona State after they're off to a 6-0 start. So I'll probably be here for a little, not the entire show. Austin checks in from the show, so a little musical chairs today as we get you ready for Super Bowl 59 on Fox 30 as well. So a lot going on. By the way, tonight we have a 1-hour special that will be on Fox 30 at 7 o'clock. That same special will run on 7 o'clock on CBS 47 Saturday, and 10 a.m. on Fox 30, a full day on Fox, of course, with Super Bowl 59, Chiefs and Eagles on Fox 30. So we've got you covered this weekend. We really tie in a lot of Jags things as well, and talking points of where do you want to be, right? Do you go the Eagles route? Do you go the Chiefs route? Can you get to those routes and be what these teams are? That's what we usually ask. Of course, the Jags are one of 4 teams that haven't made it to the Super Bowl. The Houston Texans, the Detroit Lions, the Cleveland Browns are the other 3. Good night in local hoops last night. UNF continues its winning streak. They get the job done and beat Bellarmine. Now they've won 3 in a row. They're 6-5 in league play, 2 games above 500 overall. And Jacksonville University, nice bounce back after a disappointing week for them, for losing to Florida Gulf Coast and, of course, UNF. And they come back and they win on the road against Stetson. So they get their 8th win in conference play in the A-Sun. So some good stuff there. And then the headliner. Obviously, Fred Taylor does not make the Hall of Fame. That's a big part of the story. But what about Arik Armstead? Like out of nowhere, we did not have this on our radar.
No.
Walter Payton Man of the Year award. I was in Miami covering the Super Bowl when Calais Campbell won Walter Payton Man of the Year. And there was we felt like that was a possibility. Of course, we knew Calais a little bit better, Hamby, at the time. You weren't a part of it, but you didn't know it back then. But he had already won like the Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award and Bart Starr Award, and the resume was stacking up. And we knew what he did in the community. We knew how just what a man the big fella was. We felt like we really knew Calais Campbell, and what an honor it was when he won it. Well, same goes for Arik Armstead. What an honor. When he came over to Jacksonville, we knew his decade of work. He had been the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee before for San Francisco. We thought we were getting this Calais Campbell-like person and in the locker room and player. And it's really an odd feeling for me last night watching it. First of all, salute to him. Happy for him. It's awesome. Good for him. These guys do a lot of work off the field. He does with his academic project that he has, and we've been to some of the schools and watched him do that. So there's football side, and then there's this side, and that side's very important, being able to use your platform and give back. His speech was fantastic, by the way. I got a little Duval out there as well in the speech, if you watched it last night on NFL Honors. But I don't know. There's a part of me here today that almost like feels bad that we don't know Arik Armstead more, because this surprised me, and it really shouldn't surprise me that he won the award. I didn't know it was tracking that way, but I don't think we ever really got to fully know Arik Armstead this season. He had to kind of be defensive early because of the play wasn't great, and then the Jags were struggling, and I don't think he ever could settle in here in Jacksonville from a football side. And I think what we found out later in the year, he's kind of not hiding, but he was trying to be respectful of the situation he was in, because he was playing pretty much out of position. I don't know, say fully out of position, but not where he could thrive the best. And is that a coaching thing? Was that a front office thing? Well, those things are gone. And now I just wonder if we get the full Arik Armstead experience this coming season in Jacksonville to go along with all this stuff that we thought was there, that we could celebrate, and we should celebrate. And maybe we get to know Arik Armstead a little bit more. Listen, I spent a lot of time around these guys, but it's really odd for me to not have a great feel of Arik Armstead, and maybe that's shame on me, but I think a lot of this has to do with the football side of things, where he was, had his guard up a little bit, taking arrows from people in the fan base and how it was playing and how it was playing out. And just an odd relationship, I think, this season with Arik Armstead, one that I hope blossoms a little bit more in 2025, and we can fully celebrate, who's been a very good player in the National Football League, and we get that addition because he's playing in the right spot on top of a very good human being off the field. Because, listen, you can want MVP and all this stuff. This is an award the league really celebrates, and that's why they save it to last. Walter Payton Man of the Year award is a massive award, and he'll now wear that logo on his jersey, and only a few guys get that. So congratulations to Arik Armstead. You know what I'm saying, though, Hamby? I don't know if I'm articulating this well, but it's in it kind of an odd feel. I don't necessarily think we hammered Armstead all year. I just don't think we really celebrated him much this season. One, because there wasn't great performance and production, and we were lost in a losing season, but also lost in the idea of why is he playing this spot so much rather than this spot so much. So, again, I come across as kind of like sitting here on a Friday morning like, man, I feel a little bit bad that we didn't celebrate him enough, or who he is, or what he's all about. We didn't get to know him enough. It doesn't feel like we know Armstead that great. Do you sense the same thing?
Yeah, I don't really know much about him as far as who the person is. He just you learn so much about these guys in their interviews, and I think a lot of it comes down to the respect of you don't really want to pick on a guy. So if he's not playing up to what he even thinks that he could be playing, especially, I mean, you got to believe that was his belief, that he believed he could be producing a lot more if he was in the position that he's excelled in his whole career, and he's out of that. Then I don't blame him for not being the guy with his hand up wanting to talk to everybody. It just feels like the Jags fans really don't know the guy. The only way that we know him is that we had a really high expectations for who he was going to be. We also probably had too high of expectations in comparisons to Calais. Like, not,
Yeah.
The part of that's probably unfair, just because of how good Calais was, and even in the community, and they're just not the same guy personality-wise, and that's okay. Not everybody has to be the guy again to have his hand up ready to talk to the media at every turn. But yeah, this one was weird for me. It was like, holy cow, I didn't I didn't have any idea that he was up for. Like, I knew that he was a nominee, but I had no idea that it was a potential that he was going to get it.
Yeah, it's not on my radar. Usually you'll get a little bit of a feel or a heads up on these awards. Not necessarily like the Jags, they probably knew, but I don't know. I just don't feel like we've had so much going on, too. Maybe that's why you're blindsided by it. You're so much change and everything else that this wasn't. If this was a normal offseason, maybe you're focused on this honor a little bit more. I don't know what it is. I'm just being honest with you and telling you I feel a little bit different about it. I will say this about the Calais stuff. And I think we were trying. If you go back to the shows when he came in, we were excited about Armstead. We thought it was the best free agent signing they made. We thought it could be the most impactful. They were not good enough in the defensive interior. And, of course, we were like, great. This is awesome. Go get your 3 technique guy. Devon Hamilton definitely is a little bit better now. He came off that weird year with the back problem. And okay. So we did make comparisons to Calais because he was 30 years old. He had a decorated career. He was Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. Like, he was that dude, that guy. But I think we also did, if you really listen to those shows, I think we said, listen, we're not expecting him to be Calais. I'd almost say, hey, Calais light. I'm not expecting him to come in here and have 14 and a half sacks in year one. I'm not expecting all-pro, first team, 2 different positions, those kind of things. Like, I don't think we put that on him. I really don't. But somewhere along the way, like the rest of this season, and even parts of the offseason, it felt like it got clunky with Arik Armstead. I mean, it's just, and I blame the staff for that. I really do. I blame the front office, however they worked this deal out and what they envisioned and the plan for them. And then I blame the staff for not using them right. I mean, this was a day one issue on the outside looking in, almost like when we got to the Brian Thomas Jr. stuff, and it was like, Coach, why aren't you using him? How can you get him the ball? Why does he only have 3 touches? Why isn't he getting a touch until the 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter? And then boom, 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 Brian Thomas Jr. 50 times a day. It's like, what are we doing? But Armstead felt like that. And then we get to the end of the year where there's some more stuff that comes out like, yeah, I want to play inside, right? We don't know the full extent of those conversations, but I do blame, everybody else could see it. Why didn't the coaching staff see it? We knew it. And that's also why we thought there was a depth issue at the edge part, because this guy's supposed to be inside. He can come outside when needed, but he's not primarily there. Well, they trade away Travis Gibson. They're like, oh, yeah, we got 3 edge guys. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. So it's just a wild scene, I think, the whole year with Armstead. He was caught in the middle of it. I found that we never fully broke through the barrier, because what I also will just be honest with about Armstead is when you come to a new place, you feeling people out, right? You're like, hey, who do I trust? Who is this guy that's asking me questions? Who is this gal asking me questions? Who are these people in the media? So, but you got a couple of things early on, because everybody does during whether it's OTAs or training camp or mini camp. But when the game started, everything was so negative right away. And even with his play, that it wasn't making that much of an impact, that you never broke the barrier of he could take a breath. I felt like he was defensive the whole year and had this barrier of like, who are you guys and why are you asking me these questions type of thing. And I think that's natural, by the way. I think that's fair. It's like he never got to ease into whatever he's supposed to be in Jacksonville. So I give him, I'll defend him on that. I just think that's an uncomfortable spot to be in, a new place. You don't know anybody. Are we out to get you? Are we out to this? And then all of a sudden you're like hearing all this stuff. So like, I think those things are natural. It just made for an odd existence in year one here in Jacksonville. And then you pivot to this. And I said it earlier, I'll say it again. Like, it almost makes me feel bad. Like we didn't celebrate this guy enough. This is a huge honor. This is cool that you have this guy in your organization. This is cool that he represented Jacksonville last night. He shouted out Jacksonville. He spent a lot of time in San Francisco. He didn't even shout those guys out. He was shouting out Jacksonville and Shad Khan and the organization and the city. Like, that's a good deal. That should be celebrated. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we get to celebrate him a little bit more and understand him a little bit more and figure out who he is a little bit more. And also, they put him in the right damn spot so we can watch him play the way he's supposed to play at this point of his career. So I just thought it was a fascinating feeling coming off that. But I do think overriding it is, that's a cool deal. And that's a big deal. And so congratulations to Arik Armstead, Walter Payton Man of the Year. Back to Freddy T. how do you view Freddie T? Because like you're a pup, man. Like you didn't.
Yeah.
He's almost like a mythical character for you, right? He's
Not
a YouTube
quite.
highlight reel guy. I mean, how old are you?
24.
When were you born? 2000. 2000?
Yeah. So I enjoyed like.
Yeah, I mean, you saw.
Yeah, like
you're like
07
5 or 6,
Pro
7
Bowl.
years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
08, 09.
Okay. Yeah, he was with the Patriots at that time, but you didn't see the glory days of Fred. And listen, be honest with you, I came in 2008. So I saw Fred in the locker room, and then he went to the Patriots. But I didn't see the glory days up close and personal, Fred. But obviously, you get to know Fred, I can almost memorize every highlight he's had now because I've seen the video of it, showing it over the years in Jacksonville. My point is, I don't know if you feel like, does your age group feel a certain way growing up in Jacksonville and Fred not getting in? Did you feel that same way with Baselli, or do you have to be of like 30, 35 plus to kind of feel a certain way about these guys not getting in and we want them in so bad?
I almost think that my kind of age group wants Freddie T in more than the older fans kind of wanted Baselli, just because we saw a little bit more of Freddie T. Obviously, Baselli had a shorter career. Part of that also just comes with, obviously, we weren't there for the first overall draft pick. That's a big part of it. And also just the part that Taylor plays a flashier position. Obviously, you see him a lot more. It's tough to look up a bunch of Baselli highlights per se, but I think we definitely want Freddie T in, because that was, for a lot of us, our first memories of watching Jags football / football in general. Like, I guarantee you, I mean, I can't guarantee you this, but I would be willing to bet that my first time ever watching a football game, Freddie T was the star of the game. Like, he was the focal point of the team, obviously. And so that's really where my first memories of football are, Freddie T running. And obviously, when we weren't very good, a part of that is I knew, when I was a kid, that we weren't very good and we couldn't throw the football. So looking back, that's why because the argument, a lot of it with Freddie T is, career stats as far as numbers might not be, that's not what's going to get him in. A lot of what's going to get him in is the averages, what he did in the individual seasons, and stuff like that. And when I look back and I realize at the same time we couldn't throw the football, and he was the entire focal point of the offense, and yet he was still putting up these averages when the whole stadium knew that he was going to get the ball 25 times a game. Like, that, to me, based off of, I know it was a different game, right, in the early 2000s, but that gives me Saquon Barkley vibes to me, where everybody knows that he's going to get the ball, and he's still doing what he's doing. Like, that's hard. It's harder to do now in the NFL than maybe it was then, perhaps, but that's what it gives me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think what you said, I thought this is where you were going in terms of that individual average thing. Like, that's one of the most. That's the stat to me that actually should get him in above even the total yardage and 17th on the list, or wherever the list is now, top 20, and everybody else is in. It's like the 4.6 yards per carry. I mean, that is a huge number over that amount of time. Like, I mean, we're talking Jim Brown and Barry Sanders-esque kind of numbers, and it even fell off a little bit because of his last couple of years in New England. So, but I mean, the yards per carry through the length of his career was amazing and outstanding. And I also think, listen, this isn't Freddie T's fault. It was the league's fault at the time that they didn't recognize him. And we also had two really good running backs, and it was small market Jacksonville, new to the NFL, like in the popularity contest of Pro Bowls and accolades and everything else. That's not his fault. So much of this was out of his control. Why he's not more celebrated nationally, but I'd say two things all the time about Fred, and so many other people have better arguments about Fred because they watched it up close. But my two main arguments, and I think this is where it should resonate more with people hopefully doing their job as a Hall of Fame voter. I'm on the outside looking in at Jacksonville at that time. I'm not here. So I'm one of those guys that rode around the country like, okay, yeah, I see the Cowboys are good, and I'm rooting for the Dolphins or something like that or whatever. And now the Patriots are starting to get good. But I knew Jacksonville because of Freddie T. That's where I knew Fred Taylor. With all due respect, even in the late 90s, mid to late 90s with Baselli, you don't know the left tackle of a football team that's not in your backyard. Right? I mean, I don't know who the hell the left tackle is in New Orleans or Seattle now, and we cover the league. So you just don't know it, but you see that guy now, and you watch him, and you know it, and you have these mental images of him running. And that's the other thing that always gets me about Fred is this was more than look at the accolades, look at everything. This was style. This was grace. I always say elegance. It's the only time I use football and elegance in the same word is watching Fred Taylor run. That's the only time. Now, I'm not telling you other guys didn't do it. But, the NFL film stuff of some of the old timers and maybe even a Barry Sanders. Sanders had this, right? His ability to almost glide, especially when they start slow-moing that thing down and they got the NFL films music and everything. Well, Fred had that. That's the way he ran. There was a beauty to it. And that's why I always say to the voters, just watch it. Right. You can do all the numbers. The numbers add up anyway. But watch it. It's pretty, And then on top of that, it's physical and fast when it needs to be too, just the whole package. So, listen, what are we going to say? We all want Fred Taylor to be in the Hall of Fame. I did this for so many years with Baselli. We're going to battle for it. You hope it happens. I don't love the fact that only a few guys got in. I thought that was weird. I think it gets harder, by the way, in the next couple of years for guys like Fred, who are on the cusp. There's more running backs coming in. Frank Gore will be very interesting because obviously he's climbed the ladder, but he never was, I don't say never, but was he ever considered the best back in the league? Is that a similar argument with Fred? Mm-hmm. Where some longevity stuff, but also all these other things that you can point to. Is Frank Gore going to get in? We'll see. So I think we're going to have to wait. I think we're going to have to be patient. I don't know if it happens next year. I'm just being honest. I hope it does, but I don't know the way this thing has gone in Jacksonville before with Baselli and others, now with Fred, if it's happening. One other note about the Hall of Fame. I don't know if it, again, are you surprised Eli Manning didn't get in? I think the surprise guy that doesn't get in for me, because I think everybody knows he's a Hall of Famer. Yet they have this stigma. This is like a baseball writers and other things stigma that, we can't put him in on the first ballot or whatever. Yeah. Is Vinatieri. Yeah. Vinatieri's the most clutch kicker of all time.
Right.
We know it. He's a Hall of Famer. And he's not in because he's a kicker.
Right.
And you actually had a chance to put him in. You had another opening. How many people are not saying Vinatieri's a Hall of Famer? Look at all the kicks that he made. Look at the clutch kicks he made. Now, people will now tell you, Scobie and others, Justin Tucker is the best kicker of all time. But Vinatieri is right there, and he's the most clutch kicker of all time. No doubt, the most clutch kicker of all time. So, I don't understand actually Vinatieri not getting in. Are you surprised Eli Manning didn't get in?
No, I mean, I'm not surprised that Eli Manning didn't get in because it's hard to put a guy who you would never have said was a top 5 quarterback in the league at the time on first ballot. Now, career-wise, you win 2 Super Bowls, should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm with that. And especially unless, it's not like they were, I wouldn't call them flukes. Some people might, but you look at the career as far as longevity and what he was able to accomplish in the scope of his career, I don't think they were flukes. But I think the first ballot thing is legit to me. Okay? There's a difference. You want those kind of guys to be distinguished. And I know you're not saying that you disagree with that. Adam Vinatieri just would have been one of those guys for you. But I think the guys that get on their first ballot are very, very few and far between. So I'm definitely cool with Eli Manning not getting in. As long as he gets in, period, then I think they got it right.
Here's the thing about that to me, and I've got to be complete. I have no idea who has been in the Hall of Fame, who had gotten in the Hall of Fame on a first ballot. Now, I could make some educated guesses. But I could give 2 damns if you got in on the first ballot, second ballot, third ballot, fourth ballot, whatever ballot. I don't care. I can't even tell you who. Like, you could, maybe in the first initial moment, I was like, oh, this guy's a first slam dunk, right? Peyton Manning, Tom Brady's, those guys, slam dunk. But if you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. They had open spots. Like, Vinatieri's going to get in. Maybe Manning's going to get in. But it's like, why do we have these stigmas? And this isn't the way it's supposed to go. Like, who cares if it's a kicker? If he's going to get in, you shouldn't be like, you shouldn't manufacture this to be like, okay, we'll get him in the next time or the third time. And Manning, I believe that they didn't put him in this time is because they didn't want to hear all the noise about, oh, you're only putting him in because he's a Manning and everything else. Well, guess what? I think you're going to put him in at some point, and you're going to get the noise. It doesn't matter if it's the first time or the third time or the fourth time. So, I mean, listen, I'm also okay with letting these guys wait. Like, it's a process. But if you're not going to use the allotted amount of guys to go in, and we know these guys are going in or should be in at some point, I don't understand why there's an empty spot. There should be more. Like, just use the amount of people that can get in. They should have had more in.
It was like,
in my opinion.
I think there was, according to this, there were 75 guys that have been first ballot. And there's normally been like one, like Julius Peppers was the first ballot last year. In other recent years, like Joe Thomas.
Would have never known that.
Joe Thomas, Darrell Revis were 2023. There was nobody in 22. Charles Woodson, Peyton Manning, and Calvin Johnson were the three first ballot guys in 2021. And then you got like Polamalu, Ed Reed, Tony Gonzalez, Champ Bailey, Ray Lewis, Randy Moss, LT, those kind of guys.
Okay. Yeah, listen, it's cool. I don't care. I don't care if it's, they might. Maybe that's a different
I do, thing. Because like I don't want Eli
think if
Manning.
You're a Pro Football Hall of Famer, you're a Pro Football Hall of Famer.
I get it, but I don't want Eli Manning on the same exact echelon as Eli. Peyton is distinct. He was way better than Eli Manning was as a player. He just was. So if we want to give them that, at least that's the only distinction available, the only separator in the Hall of Fame. Everybody's the same across the board except for the guys that are first ballot, and then there's everybody else. Separating a guy from like Peyton Manning from Eli is a worthy cause. You got to be able to celebrate those guys at least. If it's small, it's small. If you don't even know who's first ballot and who not, then you shouldn't care about it. Then you shouldn't, But I think some people do, and those people
thing,
would want.
When you go to Canton, Ohio, there's not like a diamond on Peyton Manning's bust because he was a first ballot. I don't think. Like, maybe it does. Maybe it says it on the thing. Maybe there's an extra nod. But like, Tony Baselli's a Hall of Famer. It took him however many years to get in. And I believe he's a Hall of Famer, just like Anthony Munoz is a Hall of Famer. Like, there's no difference in my mind between those guys in the Hall of Fame. Great players, played the position, excellent at their craft. Congrats. I mean, I just don't. Again, I'm respectful for people that do care about it. I'm just telling you, I don't give a damn. Like, I don't. That does not. I know Peyton's better than Eli. I know Tom. So should Tom Brady get in because he's the greatest of all time? Like, after 3 years of waiting instead of 5? How do we delineate that? Like, if that's our distinguishing mark? Like, no, we have sports shows for this to rank them.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we have. Like, the Hall of Fame is just a collection of great players. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, but in my view, then you should waive Tom Brady is unanimously considered the greatest of all time. Why is he waiting to go in? Waive it. Well, okay, but waive it. Then I want to make sure that you know that more than Peyton Manning, who's a first ballot.
Well, you got to wait, Brent, because he might come out of retirement again and be the next quarterback of the Raiders.
Maybe. Yeah. I know Delphonic's saying there's no longer an allotted 5 players to the Hall with the new 80% approval. 3 is now the minimum, 5 is the maximum. I get it. 5 is the maximum. These guys are going to make it in, and the stigma's held them out, is my point. So some people feel a certain way about the Hall, too, like that, again, like you just said, and I respect it. I disagree with it, but first ballot means something. And also, just some people feel like you have got to be like elite in the league, at best of your position, multiple years, all the time, whatever. Like you're saying about Eli Manning. and what people will say sometimes about Fred Taylor. And then there's others, like the Tony Baselli one was, hey, he was the best at his position, but he didn't play long enough, so we twist it that way. I'm just a believer, like, if you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. And you've got the accolades, you've got the stuff, and if you got to wait to get in because there's a pecking order, that's fine, but you should get in. And when you got 5 spots to get in, and we know Adam Vinatieri's going to the Hall of Fame someday, I don't understand why he ain't in. Yeah. Why are we waiting? But he's a kicker. Can't put a first. Oh, but you can't put the best kicker maybe of all time in on the first ballot? Why? Because he's a kicker?
I guess it'll be really interesting to see what they do with Justin Tucker, where they put him in first ballot.
Might be really interesting now, given his circumstances.
Well, that's true. Was there anybody, was there anybody else on the list that you thought should have been in that got left out?
Well, obviously, we were focused on Fred, but I wasn't surprised by Fred. I just have seen this process play out. I wasn't surprised by the Eli Manning part. I'm not suggesting that he should have gone in. I do think that's a debatable one. We're going to get that with Phillip Rivers as well. And if Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers has no chance of getting in next year on the first ballot, by the way, if Eli didn't get in. It was really, to me, the one that stood out the most was Vinatieri, because I just know you can unequivocally say he's one of the 2 best kickers of all time, and the other one's probably still playing. So the only one, like, he is right now as a retired in the clubhouse as the best guy of all time, and he's the most clutch one of all time. Like, you can say that, and the guy didn't get in. So that's actually the one that caught me, especially since they had room. If they had put if they had put the total max of 5 in, and then he didn't get in, okay, like, you ran out of room. I get it, but you had room. Is my point. Anybody else catch your attention?
I mean, it's slightly homer, but I would have liked to see Torrey Holt get in. Not just because when he moved to Jacksonville, I played flag football with his son, and I was pretty good buddies with him. So Torrey Holt was coming out to our flag practices, so I'm biased in that sense. But the guy had almost 14,000 receiving yards and I think like 75 touchdowns. Like, that's a ton, and that lines up with a lot of other guys that are in. I'm not really sure, because at the same time, look, he retired in 2009, and that was at the beginning of my football watching, so I didn't see his prime with St. Louis at the time. So I don't know what the stigma is around him, but stats alone, looking at it, it lines up with a lot of other guys that are already in.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be okay. I think it will happen someday. I think there's a big push for him to get in. The Reggie Waynes of the world did not get in, right? So
but how many?
It looks like there's a little bit of.
Remind me, how many years left do these guys have?
Shoot, I'd have to look on. Well, I think Reggie Wayne was up. Was Reggie Wayne just in the last couple of years? I mean, he's got a longer time to go. Like, there's more runway for a lot of these guys. I don't know if anybody who's still. I don't know the big name that is like running out of time or anything. And then you've got the Veterans Committee down the road, which could be like, I mean, Delphonic did say this, and I agree with him here. Like, this whole new system, this 80% rule, and then like there are a few guys that put automatically into next year's finals, and now the minimum of 3, maximum of 5. Like, these things make it harder, and then just the fact that it's going to make it harder for Fred immediately to get in, even over the next couple of years, based on who else is coming next, running backs and other players. Like, this was a year that was pretty open, and this was a year that you were like, oh, okay, you could maybe see the time. He was the only running back, I think, on the finalist list. So, but they obviously didn't do it, even though they had a chance to do it and more room to do it. So it does feel like the wait is not nearly over for Fred Taylor. Nearly over. And hopefully at some point you build enough momentum. Now, the good news is, in the past, before some of these new rules went in place, if you made it into that finalist room, you were eventually getting in. Are we going to see that shift? We're going to see that change. That will be something to watch. I would have put Holton over Sterling Sharp, says Delphonic. I kind of thought the same way. I'll be honest with you guys on this one. I feel like when you tell me Torrey Holt, when you tell me Sterling Sharp and some of these other names, and I'm like, I want to almost say, yeah, like, I don't feel it. I don't feel like Sterling Sharp, oh yeah, definitely. But it took him a bit now. And same goes for the Torrey Holts. But I also don't want to do that because I think they all have arguments, and I think this is what people are saying about our guys sometimes.
Yeah.
From the outside looking in. So I don't want to be that guy, and I'm open to it. I'm not a snob when it comes to any of the Hall of Fames. It is my opinion, a celebration of the great players. Already you're talking about a 1% athlete. You get the cream of the crop. If some of those borderline guys, I'm okay with borderline guys going in. I think there are a lot of people that aren't okay with that, and I respect it, but I'm not one of those guys. I've long said this about the Baseball Hall of Fame, which I pay a little bit more attention to over the years, going all the way back, and obviously you have a lot of talking points around from Pete Rose to the steroid guys. Like that, these are places that you bring your kid or someday your grandkids to, and you tell them about the sport. And you can do that without every player that ever played being in the Hall of Fame with a bust. But if it's a debate that he should be in, and it's a good debate, I always lean toward, I like him in. I want to be able to tell more people about more players. And it's a very small fraternity to begin with. Like, you don't need to build a new Hall of Fame on these places to put them in, right? It's still going to be a very limited number. So I know you can't put everybody in, but I'm always if it's a debatable one and you can make a good case and it's logical and it makes sense and it adds up, I'm a big fan of putting a guy in because you're already talking about the best of the best that even just to play the game. And they were that good to even deserve or earn opportunity to have this discussion. Well, if it's a good discussion and it's a really good debate, I think they should really get the nod. I favor the nod. A lot of people go the other way on that. If it's a debate, if it's on the fence, no. And again, I respect that, but I don't necessarily believe it. I think I'd be the guy voting a lot of these guys in more than not. So we'll see what happens with a bunch of them down the road. There's one other thing here that's two things I find fascinating about the game. And you talk about Torrey Holt like this, and maybe it's Reggie Wayne, and maybe it's receivers in general, Sterling Sharp and others, that we have gone so pass happy. This is going to get harder and harder to decide what is good in your metrics, in your stats. Yeah. We really have to factor in the era of when they played, and was the passing game as prolific, right? Where was that turn? Where was, hey, now a lot of people get 1,000-yard seasons. Some people are getting 2,000-yard seasons, which is still elite and crazy, but it's like we didn't have a lot of that 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So it's the goalpost has moved. And I would suggest this. We thought when we're having this argument a few years ago for Fred that, wait a minute, nobody else is going to catch these guys when it comes to total yardage, or because nobody's running the football anymore like that. Well, guess what? We're starting to pivot in a 5-year span. We've pivoted back to where we had just as many 1,000-yard rushers as we did 1,000-yard receivers this year. So I think I don't think the debate is even scratching the surface of difficult for Pro Football Hall of Fame voters as it's going to get in the next 10, 15, 20 years because of the prolific passing that has created crazy good numbers for not only quarterbacks, but also receivers. So what's how do you distinguish between a really good receiver that had great numbers or an elite receiver that belongs in the Hall of Fame? And then are we going to see a cycle back to maybe a running back? And I think one other thing has changed with the running back. I think these guys are more durable than ever and can play longer now than they did in the span of where everybody was 29 years old and they went downhill. Look at Derrick Henry. Yeah. I mean, Derrick Henry's still going at 31 years old, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down. Will we see more backs like that, which then, again, would change and pivot some of the numbers? And it's one of the reasons why I think Fred needs to get in sooner than later, so you don't have more guys clipping them off if we do get to that point. Now, that's still a big number and a lot of longevity. I think Emmitt Smith's number's safe, by the way. But I'm talking about where does the top 20 rushers in the history of the game go? One of the simple arguments for Fred Taylor is, if you're one of the top 20 rushers that ever existed in the game, shouldn't you be in? Like, shouldn't you be in?
Yeah.
I say yes. Like, story's over. Get in. That's unbelievable. The top 20 that ever played the game. I mean, come on. So I just find the whole story fascinating and the shift in the story from the rules to also the style of the game over the years. All right, let's take a break. We're way late. Holy cow, are we late? Went a long time there. A lot of stuff happening. Hey, Jags coaching staff is, I think, I've been telling you today's the day that I think it's going to be finalized for a couple of weeks now. I might be right. So we might get a finalizing of the coaching staff. And I think there could be some cool names on that list when it comes out. Maybe some of them have already been reported. Well, I know a lot of them have been reported, but maybe that I hadn't seen reported yet that could get reported from what I'm hearing. So that could happen by the weekend. And then obviously it's on to the GM search. We also have more NFL honors last night. I want to get people's thoughts on Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. That's a huge talking point. Did Lamar get hosed? Was Josh deserving? Why are people so upset about the AP vote, all-pro vote versus this vote? Does that matter to you? A lot of semantics going on last night at the NFL Honors, in my opinion. So we'll talk more about it. And then Super Bowl 59, of course, on the way this weekend. More prop bets. Austin joins the show a little bit later. We'll even talk a little Daytona 500. We're a week away from that. Saxonville. Oh, where can they go? Josh Hines out. Look at him climb the board. Jags franchise sack leader by next year in like September. He's 2 away. Obviously, he missed the last game of this season in Indianapolis, but he's catching up to Tony Brackens, Josh Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker. Where can those guys go in 2025 with a whole new defensive staff? Can he get back to be one of the elite rushers number-wise and sack-wise in the game next year? We'll soon find out. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
They sit in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can save $500 on a Connecticut Premier Softener and get a free Connect Salt Monitor with purchase. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Well, there's Shane Waldron. He is part of the Jaguars coaching staff, and that is John Van Dam, right? Johnny Van Dam? John Van Dam? We got that right? Am I saying that right?
Yes, sir.
The pass game specialist. So we got a pass game coordinator, pass game specialist. Waldron, of course, was the OC in Chicago. Waldron and Liam Cohen go back to the UMass days. Van Dam and Cohen obviously go back to the Bucs days. So the staff coming together, so much so that I think we'll know here relatively soon, by the end of the weekend, if not sooner, about the entirety of the staff. And I will tell you, there's one that on there that if it gets final, the way I think it's landing, it's going to be, I think, a cool name around here that I was at least piqued my ears. So we'll wait for it to come out and see what is finalized for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I don't think this one has been reported yet, and I'm not going to be the guy reporting it. I'm going to wait till it comes out. So there's a little teaser when it does come out over the next little bit, and I think it'll be a fun one to talk about. The other thing I can tell you this about the staff coming together, I mean, a quick but pretty thorough process. I know they've had to navigate a lot of blocking and, hey, I'm staying here. I genuinely do think, though, the guys that they, from what I can gather, the guys that they went after, you take like Shieldhouse or something like that. These are guys that were coveted to the point where the Rams wanted to keep him. I think Udinsky is a guy that O'Connell did not want to lose. So I think those are big. Those are things that are important. We also know this about the Bucs. Like, they didn't want to lose a bunch of guys from the GM to their offensive coordinator, end up being the Jags head coach, and then to a bunch of guys that they blocked. So, you're barking up the right tree there if people want to stay. And they want to keep them, and they're willing to give them promotions and more money and job titles and everything else. So I think that's a really good sign. Like, don't look at when the Jags maybe didn't get a Shieldhouse or something as like, oh, I can't get his guy. It's no good to sell Jacksonville here. I don't think that's the case. I think it's totally opposite. I think he was trying to go get a guy, and they know they got a guy too, and they're going to do everything they can to keep the guy. And in that spot, the OC spot, it made some sense because you're not calling plays in either spot. So whether it's move your family, come across the country, I'm giving you more here, I'm going to give you a title here. And also, just think about the McVay stuff. Zach Taylor was a QB coach under McVay and got the head coaching job in Cincy. Now, he had called plays in Cincy prior, years before, so there was familiarity. But still, he was a QB coach and got a head job. He wasn't the offense coordinator even. And then O'Connell, he got the job. Well, he's not calling plays. It's McVay's offense. And now Cohen had to leave there just to go to Kentucky so he could actually call plays, and it would be his offense, and then go to the Bucs and do the same so he could land this kind of gig. So the OC title alone, while it doesn't always prove everything, in LA it's actually been a very good thing because those guys are landing jobs elsewhere. So they're really excited about the staff, how they went about it, what they got. I've also been told that there's more experience beefed up around all the headline young guys than I think we're maybe giving credit to, and that probably comes in some of these other hires. I think there were some reports about running backs coach and Chad Morton, and I think the linebacker coach or secondary coach, I think, is out today. Used to be a guy on Gus's staff. Milas is the last name. So there's some more veteran leadership than I think some people are giving credence to. We're grabbing the headlines of the young guys, which is certainly true. And then let's see where they go with GM, which is going to be a young guy. But as I continue to remind people, it's a young position around the National Football League anyway, in many respects. It's a late 30s, early 40s job. Ron Milas, yeah. So he's in the secondary, right, with Anthony Perkins, which they probably split that up. Safety, corners, this is the way they do it now.
Yeah, he'll be the defensive backs coach, and we also hired Chad Morton as the running back coach.
Yeah, so those are the reports out there. Jags are yet to make it official, but I would look out for that sooner than later, where I think, like we've been kind of saying for a week and a half, I think this is probably the time frame. Get that done. Take a breath on Super Bowl weekend because Liam Cohen probably going to head home to Tampa before he returns and makes this his home. And then next week is a big GM search part of it for the Jags front office. So a lot to like, a lot to dive into. I think we'll have even more of that to dive into either later today or by the end of the weekend and into early next week in the shows. And then we get to see how this thing all comes together. And then it starts to speed up, by the way, because next week is the 10th is on Monday, which means you're now 17, 24. You're 2 weeks away from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, and the Jags don't even have a GM, which is kind of wild. When are they going to have a GM? And is that GM going to go with them to the Combine in Indy? I would assume so. But keep the date that you have to have it in is, I think, February 28th. The Combine actually starts like earlier that week on the 24th and 25th. At least the interviews and on the podium. Like, are they going to have a guy on the podium as the GM on the 25th, let's say, on a Tuesday? Or do they not get hired until like the 26th or 27th and just in time for the scouting part of the Combine? Fascinating, but we're only a couple of weeks away from that now. And they've got 6 guys to interview. So how fast will this move for the Jags on the GM front? I think the timing is interesting. It's not a negative or a positive. I just think it's fascinating that we're going to get that late in the game because, again, the way this worked out, the Jags didn't necessarily plan on firing their GM at the end of the season. Brent Martineau, Jason Hamby, Austen Lane will join us in a little bit, probably about a half hour or so away. I'm out here in Panama City. Austin's in South Florida, and Hamby just stuck in the office. The office not a bad place to be, though, today, Hamby, because we got the Al's Pizza hats on.
That's right.
Al's Pizza Friday here on the Brent and Austin Show and the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. Are the station folks, they love free food now. Do they know pizza's coming? Like, they do know about it? Like, I'm not breaking news to them. Pizza's coming soon from Al's?
I don't know if they know about it or not. I really have no idea.
Oh, they weren't talking about it with the morning crew?
They were not.
We have our people dressed in like Super Bowl gear because we have like a contest going on.
Did you see Tennessee Nick?
Where it's like, I didn't see Tennessee. I didn't see him on the show today. I was driving in.
The whole get up. Once again,
what did he,
overalls, hat, everything. Tennessee. Yeah.
Does he know we're talking about the Super Bowl, not national championship?
Is
he ready for the Final Four?
No, it just said any team.
Oh, you can wear anything. Oh, yeah. You can wear any team. Okay, that's the thing. So are we seeing people? Are we going to get like, can Marcel go to the newsroom and do a You Lost Fam segment that he does at Jags games? When you see like a Sterling Sharp jersey when you were watching the Texans and the Jags play on a Sunday at Everbank Stadium.
You probably could. Most people are probably got here after I had already exited that side, but I did see a couple before I headed over.
All right. Hey, NFL MVP last night. Josh Allen wins it. If you haven't seen it, very cool thing the Buffalo Bills did and how much Josh has made an impact in that community. I think Josh Allen's an easy guy to root for. Very cool. I'd say the same about Lamar Jackson, by the way. Same deal. But it's cool the impact these guys make. And you watch that video Buffalo put out. I retweeted it. It's pretty neat to see the impact these guys have. You know how the impact the Jags have when they win. That's why we want to get there, right? We want to get consistent winning. It just spreads throughout the whole community. Buffalo is, of course, one of those towns and places, and it was a pretty neat deal they did with the kids from the local hospital that he's impacted. But Josh Allen wins MVP. I have no problem with him winning MVP. Do you have a problem with him winning MVP? Do you think Lamar Jackson got snubbed here? How do you feel about it, Hamby?
No, I'm cool with Josh Allen winning it. I mean, the stats are the stats, but I just think that he meant more to his team. He was the most valuable guy in the NFL. I think if you plug Lamar Jackson on the Bills, they are not as successful. I think if you plug in Josh Allen with the Ravens, yes, it obviously looks different, but I think they would be just as successful. That's what we're talking about with value, how much they mean to their team, how much value they add. And I think Josh Allen added more value to his team than Lamar did. Take away the stats, take away all pro, whatever. Josh Allen is the deserving winner.
Yeah, I have a hard time thinking that he almost adds more value than Lamar Jackson, to be honest. I think Lamar Jackson, it changes everything for Baltimore. I think he even changes more than Josh Allen in terms of how defenses are on their heels, because it happens so fast with Lamar when he does decide to take off, and he can create and make a play go for 6, 7, 8 seconds sometimes, which is ridiculous in the NFL. That's a huge number. Josh does some of that, but he doesn't do a lot of that. Like Mahomes and Lamar do the most of that, where they're running around, they're creating time, and then you're usually like, hey, the play's dead, dude, just take a sack. But not with those guys. They usually end up finding somebody, and the play works positive. Josh is more of a, he'll create a little time, roll right. The game is so slow for him, and he'll roll right. And the thing I say about Josh Allen, the way he throws a sideline ball is ridiculous. Like as he's going out of bounds, and the throw that he'll make at the last moment is incredible. Nobody does it better, especially to the sideline. It is unreal. So they do it differently is my point. And so Lamar Jackson, to me, is so valuable to them. But I think when you look at two guys that had very similar seasons, and I know one number might look better than the other number, I think we expected, and we now do expect Lamar and the Ravens to do what they did, especially when they added Derrick Henry. I don't think we expected the Bills to do what they did this year when they lost some of the guys they lost.
Right.
And so, to me, Josh Allen exceeded expectations, put together his best year, took care of the football, fixed the problem that he had in recent years, and performed to the way he did. Lamar continues to be Lamar. But in part, the reason I think Lamar is okay not winning it, and I think this decision is fine by me, is because I think you could have made the case Derrick Henry was just as big of an MVP on that team this year, because he was added to what Lamar already brought to the table, and you just can't deny that. I mean, I don't know the numbers if you put Derrick Henry on the Bills. I'm not sure. Does it take away? I'm not trying to take away anything from Lamar Jackson. I'm just saying they got two guys that are performing that way, which makes it easier as a quarterback, right? When you can put all the emphasis on a guy running the football the way Derrick Henry. I think James Cook had a phenomenal year, but I think the focus was still for defenses all about Josh Allen.
Yeah, and I want to stick with that point about expectations. I think Josh Allen 100% crushed his, especially with taking away his two biggest weapons through the passing attack, and he still puts up those numbers. He still accounts for 14 rushing touchdowns to go along with his 30+ or whatever it was passing touchdowns. I think you could make it. Now it's tough to say that an MVP type stat line is the expectation, but like Lamar met his expectations. Those were the expectations.
Yeah.
And whether that's fair to him or not, coming off an MVP, that's another argument. But whatever his expectations were, he didn't really exceed them. He met them, and those were really high. So he deserves a lot of credit, but Josh Allen crushed his. You took away some of his best weapons, and he still performed at this kind of level. again, that's that value that's irreplaceable. You subtracted value on the from personnel on the offense, yet you didn't subtract any value as far as production.
Yeah, I think we'll get to all good point. Listen, you can make the case for both guys. This is very difficult to do. Two-time MVP. You know what else? I'm okay with this when it's a flip of the coin. Lamar Jackson had won it twice. Josh Allen gets to win one. I'm kind of okay with that. I know that's not the way the world's supposed to work all the time, but I'm okay. You can argue Lamar Jackson, but you can't sit here and say Josh Allen didn't earn the MVP. And I'm not a deserve guy, so you won't hear me say deserve. I think you deserve crap. But I do think he earned the opportunity to win the MVP, and I don't think it was just given to him, right? Yeah. I think if Lamar had won it, fair enough, man. If that's the way the voting went, I can make that case. I would make that case. I would be okay with that. And I think you really had to. It was great MVP conversation, quite honestly. It was really good. And I'll bring it back to Super Bowl 59 for a second. The wild thing about this is we know how good Andy Reid is, and he's reached the Bill Belichick status where he's never winning Coach of the Year again. He's not even in the mix because we expect it. And then you get Patrick Mahomes, who really wasn't close to the MVP this year. He wasn't even close to the regular season MVP. And yet, he's turned the ball over once since November something or whatever. It's 2 months.
Crazy.
He's turned the ball over once. And he's won 17 one-score games in a row. And he's in the Super Bowl again and might win his fourth one. I mean, and he's not even close to the MVP. At the level of play that those guys had this year, the stats that those guys had this year. But we all know it's just in our subconscious that, well, yeah, of course, he's the best quarterback in the league. He's not the MVP, but he's the best quarterback in the league. Isn't that a wild thing?
Yeah.
So the other part of this now is, do we get to a point where we will ever put Trevor Lawrence in this conversation?
Oh, no.
Will Trevor Lawrence, in his career, will he be in the conversation for MVP? You've got right now, the AFC alone is so hard to navigate with Burrow and Lamar and Josh and Patrick Mahomes. You've got 4 legit MVP candidates each and every year in the AFC. Really hard. And then you can go with way Goff has played. I don't know if Hurts will ever get back in this conversation, but he's been there before, so why not put him there? Sure. What happens with some of the young guys that come up as well? Heck, in the AFC alone, I didn't even include a Stroud as well. So
or a Herbert.
Or Herbert. I will look on the outside looking in, and I say this about Tua. I don't look at him as he'll ever be. He can be a franchise quarterback and be successful, but I don't ever look at him and say that dude's going to be in the MVP conversation. I don't think he will. Now, he might, but I don't think he will. I wonder if that's how people look at Trevor. Trevor, hey, he's good. He can be really good, and you can win with him. And you can do all these things. And you might have a really good year here or there. Hopefully they untap him, blah, blah, blah. But I don't really think he'll be an MVP guy. Is that fair? Which side of that? Is he going to, at some point, in his prime or whatever that looks like, be in the MVP conversation? Or is he kind of the way we would say about a Tua or even Baker Mayfield this year? Unbelievable season. You can win. You win a lot of games. You do a lot of great things, but really wasn't mentioned in the MVP conversation. Where does it fall for Trevor?
Yeah, I think national-wise, outside of the bubble that we live in, they probably would go a lot more towards the Tua side. That he can be good, that he's probably never going to get up there. But for me, you look, if you're going to ask me, is he ever, as in he's got to do it one time, I would say yes. If Goff can do it, so can Trevor. And I know that Goff went to a Super Bowl, so it's not the comparison as far as what they've achieved is not similar. But as far as the feel around the quarterback, 4 years into their career, they're probably pretty similar, right? A guy that was drafted that high, and but nobody's truly untapped him. And getting that potential kind of if Goff can do it, that's I'll hold on to that. That you're always kind of one one season away again, because we're talking about just getting into the conversation. Now, if we're going to say if he's ever going to win an MVP, that's different. But in the same way that Goff was in the conversation this year, but there was really no shot of him winning it, I think it would be short-sighted to say that that's out of the reach for Trevor.
Keep in mind, by the way, I think we have to remind ourselves, because it was now a long time ago. In 2022, the second half of that year, Trevor Lawrence was playing among the best football in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. He was arguably a top 3 quarterback in like a stretch of, I'm not talking about a stretch of 2 or 3 games, okay? I'm talking about a stretch of like 9 games.
Right.
That he was playing some of the best quarterback in the National Football League. Like, it had now gone 2 years into his career, and you're like, here it is, right? And he was. And there have been even other stretches where it's like, damn, I feel like he's playing at a high level, but the Jags aren't around him, or they're not winning games. That even happened a couple times this year. It happened a lot of times last year, too. So, like, we really have seen it. The question is, can we get the consistency? I think you bring up a really good point about Goff. And I think we need to investigate this a little bit longer, because you're right. We are about on that same window of time now, 4 years, as Goff was. And when he went to Detroit, there's no way it's like, hey, you're leaving McVay and the Rams, and Detroit's going to elevate you. Right? There was no chance of that happening. Yep. Well, it really did, and it has. And I mean, what an unbelievable rebound, if you will, an elevation of a career in Goff. He becomes a very good example for where because Goff had done some nice things. Goff had made some nice throws. He had played some good games with McVay. He had obviously gone to a Super Bowl and had a nice run. But it was still like, okay, he's a system guy. It's all McVay. It's them. They're really good on defense, too. They've put together this unbelievable team. And he was kind of the beneficiary of that. Well, he's now evolved into, man, does he own that system, run that system very well. He'll have to go through a change now with no Ben Johnson, but so where will he go after this? But this has been 2-3 years of it now. Like, this is not just, hey, he's having a good run. He's really good. I mean, he went through a 5-game stretch this year. What was it? Like, he had 15 incompletions total, I think it was, and like 5 games combined. It was unbelievable. And he was starting to get in the MVP category, even though he wasn't putting gaudy numbers up. We were starting to talk to him about him like that. That's right. I think it was right after that, right? Yep. So, and then you're out. Like, you throw 5 picks in a game and you're out. Yep. But I do think that's a good example. I think as we continue in this offseason and we start to even take the microscope to how they're going to make Trevor better, and you took a Liam Cohen's background, you really will use Goff as a good example here. And Goff, I don't know the numbers first 4 years versus the last whatever, but it will be an interesting comparison, especially if Trevor gets going and they get him hot and they get him right where he needs to be. And he can be. Because I'll tell you this about Trevor. I do feel like I've been around him enough to know this. He knows it's in there, man. He has not lost an ounce of that part of the confidence. I think he sometimes loses confidence and trust in things around him, whether it's coaching staff, players, offensive line. And that's a subconscious thing to me more than anything else. And now he's had the injuries to deal with. So there's just a negative stuff that he has to overcome. But I don't think he's wavered, and he knows there's more in. Like, we're not the only ones. Liam Cohen's not the only ones. Tony Baselli, Shad Khan, they're not the only ones that think there's more in there. I think he does, too. He knows it. He understands it. And so if he can get to that level and stay, like, he can stay there, and he can have a season that is really good if they get this thing working the right way. But they got to get it working, and they got to take the seal off. Right. They got to find it. And so I think the Goff example is a great one. I think what Baker's now done is a great one. And I think if you put up those kind of numbers, you are then in the conversation. Now, do you win it? Good point. Might be hard to do because Burrow might be doing this, or Mahomes doing that, or Lamar's doing this. But I think you're in the conversation, and I think he can get there. He's 25 years old, man. His best football is still ahead of him if he stays healthy, right? And they figure things out. He's got a lot of good football left in him. And I don't think we've seen the best of Trevor. So the best of Trevor is definitely worthy enough to be in the MVP race if he can do it for a season. And if they can find it. Like, those are the 2 ifs. Can they find it? And can you find it for more than a month or 8 weeks? You got to find it for 15, 16, 17 weeks to be able to be in this kind of conversation in the NFL. So it'll be fascinating to see if they can do it. Hey, let's take a break. already way behind on breaks today here on the Brent and Austin Show. Hey, two things to remind you about. A little Al's Pizza Friday for us. And also, it's not on the screen right yet, but that's okay when we come back. Make sure you check out the QR code on the top left. We've got one up there for Bozard and also one for the Amelia, which happens in March. Get more information. There you go. How you go. That's a Bozard one. And then there's another that flips around, and you can just click on that QR code, and the Amelia, the Concours d'Elegance up in Amelia Island, and how you can get involved with it. 30th year celebration. That's happening March 6th through the 9th. Elio Castroneves is going to be up there. Bunch of festivities all week. If you click on that QR code, that's how you get tickets, find out more information, and be a part of it. That will play throughout our entire show, by the way, so you'll be able to do that at any time, 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. Brent and Austin Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. And there he is. It's pretty amazing if you think about it now. Patrick Mahomes with a Super Bowl win basically goes to number 2 on the all-time list, and he hasn't even hit 30 years old. That is unreal. Say that out loud. 2 on the all-time list and hasn't even hit 30 years old when it comes to greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's got some work to do to catch Tom Brady, but he's got time to do it as well. An amazing run for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll be right back.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jag Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, you can take 10% off any water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jax.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. Life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
Another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cool.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jackshighschool912.com.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access.
Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence.
You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, there's a look at some of the picks that the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles have made over the years that have really turned them into these perennially good teams. And it's interesting because we're part of our Super Bowl special. You'll see this tonight where we talk about how you build this. And the Jags need to build it through the draft, free agency. You got to make a lot of right decisions. And, I mean, look at the first round decisions a lot of these fall into in second round. And then Isaiah Pacheco's a seventh round guy. Like, that's the find. Can you have a find like that in the fifth round, the sixth round, the fourth round? But then can you hammer home the lottery picks, the big picks? Can they be blue chippers? And they've gotten that out of the first and second round, Pro Bowls and All Pros and MVP candidates. And even Xavier Worthy, like, who's not really all that from a statistical standpoint, but man, has he been impactful. He continues to get better for the Chiefs, and he's been more and more valuable as the season goes along, even especially in the postseason. So there's a lot of different ways to do it in building in the NFL, but you've got to be able to figure it out. And the Eagles have done that, and I'll give you a couple other things why this GM hire is so important, okay? We know Howie Roseman and what he's done, and he's got to be the premier general manager in the game for what he's built. But I think people really sleep on Brett Veach because they give so much credit to Andy Reid. But what he's been able to do with that organization, you know, he got promoted to GM. That's the Kansas City GM. He got promoted there in 2017. That year, they went to the playoffs and lost in the wild card round. Every year since, they've been in the championship game, the AFC championship game, and now they're on the verge of maybe winning a fourth Super Bowl, and they even lost one. So, heck, I think Howie Roseman gets a ton of credit, and Veach doesn't get enough of it. So with this hire coming up for the Jacksonville Jaguars, it just shows you how big it is and how important it is to get it right in that GM spot, to get the guy that really sees it the right way, whatever that looks like. We sit here and say, what makes a good GM? Well, I can tell you this. A decade later, Brett Veach and Howie Roseman are two of the best because, look, that's what they've done. And they've done a masterful job. So this next hire, this, I would say, last hire in this process for the Jags, which is the GM, which is pretty ironic, right? That'd be like the last hire. But that's going to be a big one to get that guy right. And even though this is going to be a franchise that looks head coach led with Liam Cohen, kind of like Kansas City, where Veach doesn't get a lot of credit. Oh, we don't care if the guy gets a lot of credit or people know him around the league. Care if he gets the job done. And the guy in Kansas City does. Howie Roseman, different. He gets a ton of credit. When he should. But he's more of the organization than even, I think, sometimes Nick Sirianni is. So just a fascinating way to watch how teams are built. You'll see this tonight on the show as well. Do you want to be coach and QB-centric when you're like the Chiefs and Reid and Mahomes, but you got to be elite? Or can you be like the Eagles, where I don't think people talk about their quarterback and coach all the time, but man, do they talk about that roster. And the Jags have to figure out a combination of both. Probably works the best because it's really hard. It's probably easier to build a roster like the Eagles than get to where Reid and Mahomes are. Elite of the elite, like two of the best of all time. You can't duplicate that. How are you going to duplicate that? You get as close as you can to that, but you got an easier chance probably to build a hell of a roster like the Philadelphia Eagles have. Brent Martineau here in Panama City, and I'll be getting out of here in just a little bit. Only staying for half the show today. Austen Lane will check in from South Florida. Him and Hamby will finish this show up as we get you set for Super Bowl 59. We'll get you set for a special tonight, Making of a Champion on Action Sports Jax on the TV side. That is on Fox 30 at 7. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on CBS 47, and then Sunday morning at 10 a.m. on Fox 30. So we will have all that for you and a lot of Jags talk, Eagles talk, Chiefs talk, Super Bowl 59 talk along the way on those shows. And part of that will be a conversation with Marty Lee, First Coast Bucks football coach. He's a high school coach in the area. That was our nominee with Jaguars Prep, Action Sports Jax Friday Night Blitz. And he was our coach of the year. And really, it's like a lifetime service award, really. He's a Don Shula nominee for the NFL and in conjunction with the Jags on a national level for 4 decades of work as a head coach and part of the athletic department at First Coast High School. Well, part of that is the Jags are kind enough to give him and his wife a trip to the Super Bowl. He leaves today for the Super Bowl. We had a chance to catch up with him, Marty Lee, about going to New Orleans, a little bit on football, and, of course, what makes him and this ride as a head coach at the high school level so much fun.
Oh, it's been awesome, man. A lot of people have reached out to me and, saying it was very deserving. I've been very humbled by it all. And it was very exciting to go down there and receive the award. And especially with Ryan Stamper being able to talk to me on the interview, him being an ex-player of mine playing for the Gators and all.
It's an annual surprise. We couldn't do it without our partners. We're going to be sending Coach Marty Lee and a guest to the Super Bowl.
And being able to go to New Orleans. And, I went to school at Southern Miss. I grew up a Saints fan. When in 1967, I was 7 years old and they were established, and to be able to go to that Super Bowl in New Orleans is very special. Somebody asked me, they said, Coach, what are you going to do? I said, well, I love the Jags and I'm a diehard Saints fan. So what I'm going to do is when I'm down there on Friday and Saturday, I'm chilling out. I'm going to wear my Saints gear, but I got to represent Duval. I got to go do them. They're taking care of me, sending me to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to wear my jersey and represent the Jaguars at the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Well, what do you think about the game? I mean, you're a football guy. You got 2 good football teams, Chiefs and Eagles. What do you think?
I'm going to tell you something. It's like the old cliche is it never ends. Good defenses win championships, and if you run the football, you control the game. And, boy, I tell you, the Eagles do a good job of that. But then also, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They have a culture there. They have a DNA. They've got a winning culture there that they've had since Andy Reid has gotten there. And also they can make history to be the first team to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. So I'm excited about it. And so somebody said, who are you pulling for? I'm just pulling for a great football game and the experience.
Tonight, the silver bullet's going to fly again. Okay? Because, if you look at the old Western days, with the old Long Ranger and Tonto, and he had the horse Bronco, did you ever realize that Tonto and the Long Ranger, they rode the horse? The horse didn't ride them. We're going to ride the Bronco tonight. Okay? We're riding the Bronco tonight.
From a football sideline standpoint, something that you've done and you love for so long, is there a lot of reflecting that takes place even in the last couple of weeks, couple of months, as you kind of get toward the finish line, at least of this chapter of your life?
Yeah, I thought about a lot of different things. I thought about when I first got the job in 97 and the obstacles that we had to overcome then. And then we had the great run for about 8 years. We went to the state championship game, and we were in the Final Four all these years. And then we went through some hard times. All the people that you have an impact. I'll go somewhere, and they'll say, Coach, I heard your voice. How you doing? And, and just to see the person that individual has become, to be able to help over 240 guys go and relive their dreams of going to college football and then being successful members of our society. It just means a lot to me. And, I told somebody, I said, I'm going to still cut the grass. If y'all don't let me do that, I'm going to be upset about it.
I hope you enjoy all the festivities, enjoy the game, and can't wait to hear about it.
Yes, when I get back, I'll tell you all about it. And I'm going to represent Duval. I appreciate you, big man.
There's Marty Lee. He's a character, man. He's awesome. And represent Duval there at Super Bowl 59 and back where he grew up in that area. So that's pretty cool. We had a long conversation just about, the impact of high school coaches on kids in the area and watching them grow up. And 240 kids onto the college level to play ball over the years. That's pretty neat. We also had signing day on Wednesday, and we had Marty talking about that. That's his favorite day of the year, he says. Still for 28 years, he says, been his favorite day to watch those kids go on and play at the next level. So pretty cool stuff with Marty Lee. Well earned over the years. He heads into retirement from the sideline. He'll still be around the school for at least another year. And job well done for Marty Lee in his high school career. And pretty cool. Listen, the Jags, we're seeing it, right? We get to see it. And I always try to remind people of this. I know sometimes it can be frustrating when you lose, and the Jags haven't won nearly as much as people want them to. But then you get let's just say a couple of weeks like this, and we're doing some stories from Marty Lee going to the Super Bowl, or recognizing people that impact other people in the community. We have a young lady down at Crescent City, flag football. She's going to the Super Bowl as well, courtesy of the Jaguars and Jaguars Prep and the Latino program with the National Football League. We have Fan of the Year around Jacksonville going to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. And then you get something like last night with Arik Armstead wins Walter Payton Man of the Year award. And sure, he did a lot of that in his career in San Francisco, but he's brought that here to Jacksonville and some of the schools and the educational things he's doing and impacting kids. So I think it's always worth taking a note and taking a little bit of a step back as we talk about the X's and O's so much and how they're going to get it right, that these are real things that the NFL does impact here in our community and people, and highlights people that are already making other impacts, even with or without the NFL. But they've got the power to do that, the platform to do that. I think it's a pretty neat thing. And we got a handful of people that are going to the Super Bowl here that had never been. There was an opportunity of a lifetime and maybe unexpected. There's no way a year ago you would have told them that they were going to go to the Super Bowl, and here they are. And that's all courtesy of the NFL and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think it's important to recognize that sometimes and highlight that, what they're doing. And there's more of that. I mean, the Jags we partner up with the Jags on high school football. We partner up with the Jags this spring on flag football. They're hosting a big event this weekend, by the way, in flag football, and next weekend. So they have really done a good job, and they have one of the better high school programs in the National Football League. There's almost like a little bit of a competition that goes on. But I would say youth sports between flag football and high school football, they are one of the top ones in the league at doing a lot of these different things, highlighting the kids and the growth of the game and everything else. So I think that is a pretty neat part of the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you missed any of our stuff from the top of the show, obviously you can always go find it on the podcast each and every day at 1:30. That will be up, and you can listen on your car ride home or anytime on the weekend, getting a workout in, going for a walk, whatever you want. Get away from the family. You can listen to the show each and every day at 1:30. The podcast goes up wherever you find your podcast, Apple, Spotify, you name it. And we started the show with Arik Armstead getting Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Obviously, no Fred Taylor in the Hall of Fame. A little bit more on the NFL awards that took place, but also the Jags coaching staff. And we're about to come to the conclusion of that ride with the Jags coaching staff. Keep an eye out for that later today or even in the next couple of days on the weekend. And then it will shift really to the GM search for the Jags, and we'll be about done with this cycle. Onto the NFL Combine after that, onto free agency after that, onto the NFL Draft after that, and then, of course, in the interim of some of that in April, the Jags will get a head start getting guys in the building. April 7th, I think, is the day where Liam Cohen can get things going. So this is, as we dig deeper into February, it makes the offseason go kind of quick with some of the attention the Jags have, the news they've been making, and some of it's a lot of excitement. But what I continue to say as we're on Super Bowl weekend, and we'll continue to punch this home, they have made, since 2 Wednesdays ago, a lot of good moves. Byron Bulkey was the right move. Getting Liam Cohen feels like a good move. Getting Tony Baselli involved feels like a good move. Adding some of these coaches, hopefully they are good moves. We don't really know, but we hope. Go get the right GM. You got to get it right. Be a good move. But then that league year stuff starts where who are you going to keep? What kind of contract restructuring are you going to do? Who's going to be a part of this thing going forward? What free agents can you get? Do you want to go get? And then obviously preparation for the draft, where it's not just get one guy right. You can't just get Brian Thomas Jr. right. You can't just get, hopefully, Anton Harrison is right. But the last 2 drafts have yielded no immediate results outside of the first-round guys. We have had to wait for better results. 2 years ago, we got more results this year, but it took 2 years out of Brenton Strange and Tank Bigsby and those guys. We didn't get a ton of production out of the Mason Smiths and everybody else in this year's draft. That happened after the first round. Got great results from Brian Thomas Jr. Maybe the Mason Smiths and other guys that were drafted in that class will do better here in year 2. But I actually think in 2025, this draft class has to yield, yes, a blue chipper and that number 5 overall pick if they stay there, but also has to yield results out of your 3rd round pick or 2nd round pick or 4th round pick or whatever, a combination of that. That's how you turn it quick. So we are in the middle of this series of events where the Jags have to say, okay, we did this, we did this, we did this. It's one thing to check the box. Did you do this right? Did you do this right? Did you hit a single? Did you hit a double? Did you hit a home run? And you need some of those. You can't hit home runs all the time, but you definitely need to hit some doubles and home runs here. And then that could offset if you do swing and miss, because you're also going to swing and miss on occasion. You just can't swing and miss on the most important things. They got to get the coach right. They got to get the GM right. Hopefully they got these coordinators right. They got to get the 5th overall pick right. Like, you can't swing and miss on those. You swing and miss on the 4th round pick, that happens. So that's where we go into Super Bowl weekend here. Super Bowl 59 on the horizon on Fox 30. Listen, show's not over. I'm just kind of recapping and resetting it, and we're going to take a break because we're way long on all the breaks. Austen Lane should join us on the other side of it. Still got a little Daytona talk as well. Super Bowl props. So we're just getting rolling here on a Friday. It's an Al's Pizza Friday. They're going to drop that pizza soon, by the way. And I got to tell you about some specials they told me about. If you're looking for some pizza this weekend, let's see. I got it right here. Hang on. How about this? Today, happy hour draft beer, house wines, $3 between 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. This isn't your 2 to 4 old man happy hour. This is 2 p.m. until 10 p.m. happy hour on Friday. So $3 for wine, beer. Go get it. Saturday, half portion of wings for $8. Full portion of wings for $15. Happy hour draft beer, house wines, $3. 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. all day on Saturday. And then same deal on Sunday as well. So a lot of great specials this weekend. Al's Pizza, all the different locations in Jacksonville. It's an Al's Pizza Friday here on the Brent and Austin Show on Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. And we're getting pizza in the station today, so they're happy inside Action News Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30. We'll take a break. Be right back here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Andy Reid. Is he going to get another one?
He's had a lot of pizza.
He's amongst the greatest of all time already and inching his way up the lists.
The Tom Bush family of dealerships, they've been serving customers in the Jacksonville area for 55 years. They've been your go-to spot to get and stay on the road since 1970, and that's still the case here in 2025 and beyond, even if the cars have changed just a little bit.
Check out the sleek line of vehicles of the future. That's right, electric vehicles. Tom Bush offers a full lineup of reliable electric cars with state-of-the-art service facilities. Like the new VinFast, Tom Bush is among the first dealers in the entire country to offer the VinFast, and let me tell you, this thing is sweet. The good folks at Tom Bush have all the info on charging, service, tax credits, and everything you need to keep your EV running smoothly. BMW, Mazda, Volkswagen, Mini, and the newly offered VinFast. There's something for everyone at the Tom Bush family of dealerships. Ready to join the Tom Bush family? Stop by the showroom or check out the inventory online at tombush.com.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jax 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Everyone loves a good game night. Here you don't have to be the host. You don't have to clean up. They bring the food and drinks to you, and you can watch whatever you want on the big screens. It's more than a card room. It's a night full of fun with friends. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and now the newest location here in St. Augustine, right off 95 at exit 311. A brand new clean room, a full bar and menu, my favorite sushi in town. And I love the fries too. You don't have to just play poker at Best Bet. That's why I come over here to the table games and play one-card poker. That's a pretty good card and a win. One-card poker is like war as a kid, you against the dealer. And this isn't the only fun table game to play. A friendly staff, a lot of fun. It's a good night out at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and the newest location in St. Augustine. You can be a serious player or a novice. It doesn't matter. If winning equals fun, you're a winner every time at Best Bet. I'll save you a seat, and I'll see you down here at Best Bet St. Augustine.
A big week for the UNF men's basketball team, a sweep of Stetson and Jacksonville University. It was an overtime thriller over Stetson. That set the table for the River City Rumble, and Coach Matthew Driscoll joined the Brent and Austen show.
But I think these two games are the creme de la creme.
UNF couldn't miss in the first half. 11 three-pointers jumped the lead to 25 points, but the Ospreys would still have to hold off a late rally. UNF comes back home for the men's and women's hoop doubleheaders on Thursday and Saturday at the arena. Also say hello to softball season as the Ospreys visit number 1 Florida on Thursday and then host the River City leadoff on the weekend. For more on the Ospreys, visit unfospreys.com. That's your Swoop Minute.
Just be yourself. Maybe we're talking about being a dad or a mom, a first responder or a teacher. Maybe it's a sports fan. We love those. We're talking about anyone in the Jacksonville community. At Community First Credit Union, just be yourself means being real. When you partner with Community First, it's straightforward. They're people connecting with you, so you can be yourself. I've been coming here to Community First for years. This is the Bartram branch, the one I usually come to, and they have mortgage loans, personal loans, and auto loans, and I'm almost done paying off that truck loan. Just a few more months. Good rates, easy online banking, and friendly customer service when I have a question. It's easy to be myself with Community First. They live up to the slogan in their name. Community First has partnerships in the Jacksonville community with the Iceman, the Florida Theater, the Jacksonville Zoo, and many more. Visit one of the Jacksonville branches or find out all you can do with Community First Credit Union at communityfirstfl.org so you can just be yourself.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show. You're looking at Kendrick Lamar getting set for his halftime performance. I specifically saved this one because I knew that this guy right here was probably going to have something to say about it. Austen Lane,
and
back.
And Brent would probably go, "Wait, who is that again?"
Right? Yeah, probably not the shot for Brent. But where does this one rank for you as far as excitement for halftime show performances?
So I think in terms of hype, Hamby, it's definitely up there. You know, I mean, I remember I was excited for it was like the LA one, the West Coast one, when it was like, I don't think it was even like I think it was just like, it was like the West Coast tribute, right? So they had like Dre and Snoop and everybody, and that was cool. I remember being really excited for Prince when Prince went on, just because like we talked about it before on the show, man. Prince is like an alien, but I'm excited for this one, man, just because of the storyline that it took to get to this point, right? And let's go ahead and call a spade a spade. The only reason why Kendrick Lamar is, I feel like, getting this Super Bowl slot is because of Drake, is because of a diss track towards Drake. And I assume he's going to play it. He almost has to play it. But at the same time, it's like, man, if you look at the lyrics, and I'm sure he's going to change it up a little bit, but it's wild how the guy won Grammys. The guy's going to play in the Super Bowl halftime show, and he's literally, it's a diss track to another rapper. It's wild.
Yeah. Dang.
Are you excited, Hamby, or not?
I mean, I'm most of the time, if I'm honest, the halftime show is the time where I take a break and lock in on the snacks, if you will.
Sure.
Because I'm locked in for everything else. But obviously, yeah, I mean, I don't know much about SZA, who's also going to be involved in it.
Yep.
And maybe there'll be almost another
there's
cameo.
Gonna be tons of guests. I mean, this is a Super Bowl halftime show, right? So there's definitely going to be guests. There's rumors Taylor Swift because I think it's called Bad Blood. I think Kendrick and Taylor Swift, which is a crazy combination. They do have a song together. So does she make an appearance? Lil Wayne, obviously a guy that has been in headlines in terms of not being able to perform at the Super Bowl. Does Kendrick bring him out? So there's a lot of possibilities, man, of people he could probably bring out. His cousin, Baby Keem, he had a big rap song a couple years ago. Do you bring him out? So there's tons of possibilities, but I'm excited, man, because it seems like every single year, and granted, like they don't get paid for this, but they always try to like spend more money to try to outdo everybody,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get too far into it, how's the face today?
I mean, dude, the face looks better, right? I'm looking good.
It does.
Got a little eyeshadow here, looking like Nosferatu up in here, but it's all good, man. Feeling good. Hamby, have you seen Nosferatu yet?
No.
Do you know what Nosferatu is?
No.
Unbelievable, man. Never mind then. It's like this vampire horror movie that's in theaters right now. It's an old school movie that they got redone. I haven't seen it personally because vampire love stories. I'm all set, but it got some pretty good reviews, I guess.
All right, so you're all set, but yet unbelievable that I don't even know what it is.
I mean, Hamby, it's a pretty popular movie, and a lot of people are talking about it. So I feel like you should probably know what Nosferatu is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, did you have a training session this morning?
Had a training session this morning. Obviously, a lot easier of a session today. Had some. It was basically just like kind of like a striking circuit. So I had another partner from Brazil who, and by the way, this has kind of been the thesis of my experience down here. Is there's a lot of great fighters, and a lot of them speak Portuguese and like Russian and European. So I'm kind of like the outlier, which is crazy, right?
Huh.
So I'm kind of like the, like the black sheep of the heavyweight division here training. But it's been fantastic, man. I'm having a blast and obviously increasing my skill set for my fight coming up. Hopefully that'll be announced soon.
Yeah. All right. I'm curious. Take me through the eye poke, okay? Because if you watch UFC, unfortunately, you see it quite often. But you see, obviously, there's time that it gets called if it's seen, which is the large majority of the time. But
yeah,
as far as somebody, it's not like we get poked. We don't get poked in the eye. We also don't get punched in the face often. We don't know. There's very little relatability with all of these things. But the eye poke is something that we see so often that it makes you curious, like, what is the worst part about it? Is it the pain? Is it the discomfort? Or you literally just can't see?
Yeah. So, I mean, for instance, the one that got poked yesterday, and the one was it was crazy yesterday because like he threw like a jab at me, and like I love how I just make a jab, and I don't know if you saw that on the screen, but there's a giant thumbs up. Okay, so he throws a jab at me, and I slip on the outside like you're supposed to do. And in slipping, he kind of had his thumb out, and the thumb actually went into my eye. And it's wild, Hamby, because you have so much adrenaline going through. That's what people don't understand. They're like, oh, you're crazy. You fight, you get hit in the face and everything. It's like adrenaline's an amazing thing. Like, I've never been in a cage and like took punishment, whether I've broken my nose during a fight, whether I've broken my hand during a fight, where I felt like, oh no, like I've broken something, I better stop the fight. Like that doesn't even come through your mind at all because you have so much adrenaline, like you're just feeling great. And it's kind of like that fight or flight thing, right? So it's trying to balance that adrenaline and remaining calm. But long story short, you don't feel any pain. And eye poke is different though, because it doesn't necessarily it hurts getting poked in the eye, like you feel it, but it almost like it shuts everything down, right? It's like yesterday, like we're going at it and everyone's kind of circling the cage, everyone's cheering us. So it's like, pressure's on. And then all of a sudden I feel like my eye, I'm like, oh, bleep. And I'm like, damn. Like, and it's like your instinct is to, instead of like, all right, my hands are up, it's like, oh, hold up 1 second. Yeah, so then they obviously they stopped it for like the sparring round for a couple minutes. Not even a couple minutes, probably like 45 seconds. And that's another thing too, Hamby, is when you're in a fight and whether you get like, hit in the the groin,
Right.
or you get poked in the eye, you get 5 minutes. But for whatever reason, you're like, it's almost like your ego or like your internal clock is like, I gotta get back out there. I gotta keep, screw 5 minutes, give me like a minute and I'm back in there. And that's not smart, right? So like yesterday when I got poked in the eye, I'm like, all right, just give me a second. And then I'm like, all right, let's keep going. And then by the time, so it was probably like 45 seconds, we keep on sparring and I'm like, oh dude, I'm not recovering at all. Cause like it was so to the point where it's kind of blurry. So then I'm like trying to I'm fighting like this a little bit, covering up my eye and kind of looking at my left eye. So it was a nightmare, but thankfully, so that was the third round. And then between the third and fourth round, I got my vision back completely and everything. And then it was fine. But for whatever reason, man, as fighters, we're very prideful. So we don't have to take like the full 5 minutes out, even though it's in your best, respect to probably take those full 5 minutes and get your eyesight back or get your groin back in place.
Yeah. I want to get to this comment right here from William Torres. He said, Austin, are there guidelines on when to stop sparring before a fight? Wouldn't want any past injuries open up during a fight? Because we hear all the time, during fight camp injury, some guys, they obviously call the fight off. Some guys try to go through it, and then you only hear about that after. Not to say they use that excuse, but I mean, look, you try and go out and fight there with, fill in the blank that's broken or whatever. So
yeah.
Because to me, like, I was a little surprised to see yesterday. You've told us a general timeline of when you're going to fight next. Even that seems close to fight to something like that. So what are the normal guidelines? Is it different for every fighter, or okay?
So I mean, every gym, every fighter is going to have a different philosophy. The common philosophy which I follow, which I would probably say 80% of UFC fighters, probably 80% of fighters in general. I'm gonna include boxing in here as well, because I just saw Sean Strickland, if you know who he is, sparring yesterday, because that's who he is. But and he has a fight this Saturday. But usually it's 2 weeks out before your fight, you start to taper off, right? And it's important to get, so like for instance, the rounds yesterday. Well, the guy I was sparring yesterday, he's got a fight coming up in like 2.5, 3 weeks. So that was like his last hard sparring session.
Okay.
And I'm getting close to tapering myself. Not going to say when the date is, but I'm getting close to tapering myself, where it's like, you know what? We got to get this hard round in. So it's not something you want to do week in and week out. I'm like, swing for the fences, I'm not trying to hurt each other, obviously, but we're treating this like a fight, right? We still have our shin pads on. We have their MMA gloves with there's 7 ounces instead of 4 ounces, get our mouth guards and everything. So we try to remain as safe as possible, Hamby. But at the end of the day, like, you have to try to mimic going into a fight.
Yeah.
Right. Because the last thing you want to do, and then there's some pros, like for instance, Max Holloway, one of the best strikers in the UFC.
Right.
He said now that he doesn't really spar anymore because he has so many sparring rounds in him where it's like, dude, you're just going to add damage to yourself. I'm older, but I got into the sport late. Right. So in terms of like longevity, in terms of, tread on the tires, I still have a lot of tread on those tires. So I can still afford to get away with some of those crazy sparring rounds. You just got to pick and choose when you want to do them. But generally, 2 weeks before a fight is when you want to start tapering off. We'll still go like a little light sparring, kind of like just playing tag. But obviously when it's 2 weeks before a fight, you're not going to see me, on the show all bloodied up and banged up and everything like that.
Yeah, just had a little sparring match with your phone. That's all good.
I did, man. Well, that's what happens when you got because I have the old school mic on.
I do too.
So sometimes we get excited, the thing just goes flying.
I still wear them to the gym every day.
Yeah,
you gotta have the wire.
Here's a question: have you ever been in a fight before?
No.
And I'm sure you probably wanted to against umpires and baseball parents and stuff like that. But you've never been in a fight before.
Never thrown punches.
Good for you. Good for you.
It's crazy how often maybe it's just part of just being a dude. It's like how often you think about, like, you'll just be in the shower or whatever, or just like, man, what if I would have gotten a fight at this person? What would I have done here? Like in a flag football game, like somebody squared up against one of my teammates like last week, and then the refs came in. So I was like, man, all right, well, if that would have been like, what would I have done? Like, what would have been my plan of attack here? But nope, never. You almost like wish you had once at least just to see what you would have done. But nope, never have.
Hammy, let me go and ask you this, since we're on the topic of fighting right now. If you're going down a dark alley, right, and we've all heard this scenario before.
Yeah.
But you're going down a dark alley, current Jacksonville Jaguar. Who are you taking? Because, like, you know, in the past, obviously, like, I mean, I know Mercedes Lewis, you know, used to train MMA and everything. I've seen it hit mitts. So, like, I'm pretty confident, like, Mercedes Lewis could have been that guy. Greg Jones, fullback, would have definitely been that guy. But I'm talking about, like, the current roster right now. Who we taking? And chat, feel free to chime in here as well. I'm very curious to hear some of your thoughts, because usually, you know, generally you want to lean towards the lineman, right? You're trying to go for size here. But is there like I mean, obviously Trayvon Walker sticks out just from being an athletic freak.
Yeah, he does.
Josh Hines Allen.
I got to be honest, I'm taking Evan Ingram. He looks like a dude who could swing. I mean,
which is crazy to be a tight end. I just mentioned Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah, we saw what he did against Al Shire as soon as Trevor got hit. But he just seems like a dude who's got like like serious scrap, who could throw some serious hands.
Jaden Jones isn't a bad one, man.
No.
And like, obviously size can come into play here a little bit, but if we're talking about scrap, you know, just a guy that's like willing to swing for the fences, swing till you die, I might be taking Jaden Jones, man, because he seems to be about that life, Hamby.
Bro, actually, it might not even be a player. I might take Anthony Campanile, the new DC. Holy cow. Like, Jersey dude. Italian family. I mean, so the Jags put out a video yesterday. It's on Jaguars YouTube and all their social. A little interview with Campanile. So it's the first we've heard of him since he got hired, and he said the word violence a couple of times. Like, that was, you know, we've heard attack from Nielsen.
Yeah.
Violence. I mean, he's probably saying the very similar thing. You know, we always hear violent at the point of attack, violent at the point of attack. But for some reason, when he says it, you're like, oh my gosh, like. First of all, like, that's encouraging to hear.
Of course.
You know, you don't want to put really anything into it because we're better than that. We've learned from our mistake. But at the same time, I hadn't heard that word in a minute from a Jaguar, at least Jaguar coach. But when he was like, dang, man, like, I'd suit up for that. I'd suit up. Like, if I'm going down the dark alley and I need a coach, give me Coach Camp.
No, man, I respect that. I feel like there's a lot of defensive coordinators like that. It's funny because I mentioned this yesterday when I played with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, the only defensive guy, really, whether it's like position coach, coordinator, the only guy that I thought was like more analytical and didn't really make a lot of sense to me was Bob Sutton, because he's a guy that came from the Rex Ryan defense in New York, the 3-4, and then followed Andy Reid. I believe it's how it went. Followed Andy Reid to Kansas City. And, like, yeah, dude's wearing glasses and is, like, all analytical. I'm like, he does not seem like a defensive coordinator, because, and I'm telling you, man, like, when I was in college, I was disappointed because, okay, you know, I had a chance to play tight end or slot. I was going to be a tight end, I thought, and then they moved me to defensive end. And in retrospect now, thank God they did, man, because my personality was tailor-made to play defense over playing tight end. You know, like, yeah, I enjoyed getting touchdowns. I enjoyed, you know, catching the rock, running with it and everything, getting all the glory, if you will. But looking back on it now, man, that wasn't my personality. And personality plays so much into whether you're going to be a great offensive player or a great defensive player. And what it comes down to is, on defense, man, it's almost like that take no prisoners attitude. And it's a blessing, because defense is all based on, okay, you got a job to do, Hamby, but you react and you go to it. Right. And yeah, sure, you want to enforce the will and everything like that. But, like, the defense's job is, if everyone does their job, the coordinator's job is going to say, you know what? If everyone does their job, we're going to stop them. Right. If you play with intensity, if you play with a killer instinct, you'll stop it. On the offensive side of the thing, it's got to be so much more of just, even keeled. You can't pin your ears back. You have to know the count. You have to know the formation. You have to know audibles. All this crap where it's like you've got to be analytical with it. So that's why I always enjoy defense. And obviously now with the Jaguars and defensive coordinator, you're seeing that where it's okay just to turn it loose and be violent and go. And I think last year, for whatever reason, with Ryan Nielsen's defense, where and I'll be the person to tell you I was wrong. I thought he talked a big game, in the introductory press conferences and everything. Said a lot of great things that you like, but you had a defense last year, Hamby, that was playing slow, that didn't pin their ears back, that almost kind of appeared like they were waiting on something, which didn't make any sense because we were told that, in the preseason, we're going to put them in positions to succeed and everything. And then we're seeing the defense is like, okay, well, why is the secondary not in the right coverage? Why aren't guys lined up properly? Why aren't guys filling the hole properly? Why aren't guys making tackles? So, I think coaches in general, man, they love to complicate things. They love to have their own ego and say it's my way or the highway. But the best defenses are probably the most simplistic defenses. And then, you throw wrinkles here or there, but it's getting the best out of your players and setting them up for success. And I'm hoping this go around, we actually see that come to fruition.
Well, there you go. Well, look, if you want to do the grades on the introductory interviews or whatever, Coach Camp gets an A+ from me. But that definitely remains to be seen. He also did talk about that he does believe that there are a lot of he said the roster is like the main reason that he liked the job. Obviously you're going to like any job that gives you that kind of a promotion because we don't know how many offers he had. So we have to keep that in mind. But it was interesting that he said that was one of the main draws with, he mentioned a couple of players or position groups more so than individual players. But, he's got to love what he's got on the edge. He's got to love, there are dudes. There are dudes. This is not
dudes.
This is not a brand new kind of defense. But nonetheless, all right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get a little bit more into the Super Bowl. We got to drop some predictions. We didn't get Brent's, but we got to get that. And we'll see if there's not a couple more props that we need to hit as well. But we'll be right back on the Brent and Austen show. This is a little preview that they sent us, Kendrick, and that is SZA with a little Gatorade bath. I guess they're putting their money on blue. But again, I think it was purple was the favorite. We'll see. We'll be right back on the Brent and Austen show.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade. I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can save $500 on a Kinetico Premier Softener and get a free Kinect Salt Monitor with purchase. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Kinetico water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Kinetico dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
The rhythm of my heart is beating like a drum, with We Armada rolling off our tongues. Never will we roam, for we know our place is home. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Gus Bradley finds another home. This just in from Tom Pelissero in literally the last 3 minutes or so. Longtime NFL coach Gus Bradley is joining the 49ers coaching staff per sources. Obviously, Robert Saleh is now there. So as I bring it back in with my Al's Pizza hat, Austin, I just
nice looking hat there, Hamby.
They just dropped off a bunch of boxes in the break room. I scarfed down 2 slices. I comboed them, which is the way to go. So I, flap them on to make a sandwich, put them on top of each other, and I finished my last bite right
Hamby,
before.
You did not take 2 slices of pizza. Why, man? What are we doing?
I had limited time. You know how if you know this show, you know how short our breaks are compared to some others.
Breaks are extremely short. I'm not gonna lie, I agree with you there. But man, how about you just take 1 slice, down it, and then say, I mean, that's
double the bites.
I guess so, man. It's double the calories. Do what you got to do.
I thought you would have appreciated it.
I appreciate the hustle. It's just that I've never heard anybody make a pizza sandwich before. And I don't know how to feel about it, but all right.
I got to say it was pretty daggum good. I'm looking forward to...
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, man. Are we talking pepperoni? Are we talking sausage? What do you got going on over there, Hamby?
I was going straight pepperoni today. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, thank you. Someone's in the chat, Hamby's brother, that's great. Yeah, it's not normal behavior. I don't care how hungry you are. Just eat 1 slice. take your time. We had about an hour left in the show, and then finish the other slice. The fact that you felt the need, and this is crazy how you rocking the Alice Pizza hat, that it was your first instinct to go, you know what? I'm super hungry.
Yeah.
Let me take 2 slices, put them together in a sandwich format, and then down it.
I know I had about 2 minutes after I got it from when I had to, we came back from commercial, and I wanted 2 slices instead of 1. Simple math.
You just got to be careful, man, because there's nobody in there right now to like kind of like, give you like the Heimlich maneuver or anything. So like, let's please stay safe here, Hamby. You know what I'm saying?
We're all set.
I don't just choking on the air and having me having to do the show by myself.
That would be bad. That would be bad.
I've done it before.
You've done the Heimlich before.
No, the show before by myself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I've never had to do the Heimlich. I've never been trained. I mean, I feel like I could give it a good college try.
Yeah.
I'll probably break a rib in the process, but I guarantee you if someone's choking, I'm gonna get it out of there one way or another.
Kind of speaking of the CPR, they always put it to a beat, and I always used to be like staying alive. That's the way I was taught.
Yeah.
But apparently, Kendrick's
Espresso?
No. The diss on Drake is exactly the BPM.
Not like us?
For all of you non-music beats per minute, 101 BPM it's the perfect song to do the CPR.
Yeah, but see, that's the problem though, because like I'd be playing that song in my head, going over the lyrics, and then when it gets to probably A minor, and I would just push down and not let back up, and I'd probably kill the person in the process.
Oh, no.
So
Gosh.
I'm gonna stick with Staying Alive over Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us.
Okay, well, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
That's probably a good idea. Gus Bradley, though, goes out to San Francisco, now paired up with the 49ers. I wonder, because, look, we keep talking about how inexperienced and how young the Jaguars coaching staff is. And that's part of the reason why when it was announced that Ron Rivera was going to interview. Now, it wasn't specific which position he was going to interview for, but just the fact that he was interviewing for some role on the coaching staff, there was a good deal of sentiment, like positive sentiment behind that, just to get him involved in some way, right? The experience that he brings as a former head coach. He's had success. Maybe it didn't end so well in DC, but well respected by everybody. That's undisputed. Great dude. But obviously he decides to go to Cal back home to be their GM of sorts, to take care of the NIL side of things. We talked about yesterday, Brent and I, about, even if you just go down in town, not to say that any of these guys specifically would even be interested, but between Gus, who kind of lives here, and Coughlin, and a couple of the other guys that used to be on the Jags coaching staff that still live here, like you could put together at least almost a collective of guys who would bring an insane amount of experience, and also knowing the team, the culture, the city, that would be helpful. And Gus would have been potentially one of those guys, just to have it on the staff in some capacity. So now that, he was never involved, I'm not saying that he was, but just because he's now out there in San Francisco, do you still think that's something that the Jags should look into, whether it be a former head coach or just somebody who's been in the NFL for a long time?
So what's the official role of Gus Bradley, by the way? Before
it didn't say.
It didn't say. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, but obviously some kind of,
I'd guess what, like D-line or linebackers coach,
specialist,
like that.
whatever. Yeah, some kind of defensive, maybe like a pass game, run game coordinator, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Hamby. I mean, I think, listen, we spoke on this, I think it was yesterday. There's a lot of intrigue with this coaching staff, but experience, resume in terms of positions, not so much. So when you bring in a lot of guys, like, I'm not opposed to it, but to me, it almost has to be, you have to bring in some guys with that experience, right? Some guys that kind of know how to do things. Now, I'm going to be honest, I like that they retained the special teams coordinator, because that's, like we always talk about, those bridge guys that have been here before, they kind of know how things go. Well, you kept one of them. So I think that's a good thing. I wouldn't mind seeing a little more of a seasoned veteran, whether it's in a specialist, analyst type of role. And maybe they do have that. We haven't really thought about that, but I wouldn't mind seeing that simply because if I'm Liam Cohen, I need as much experience to bank off of as possible. Right. And right now, I mean, once again, intrigue, youth, enthusiasm, excitement. There seems to be a clear message, clear communication. The one thing lacking, though, might be experience. So to answer your question, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed if you wanted to bring in some sort of, old head coach, an old coordinator, put them in some kind of specialist role and just kind of bounce some ideas off them.
Okay. Well,
and then also too, like with San Francisco too, like, listen, I appreciate what San Francisco is doing, right? Because they obviously underachieved a lot this year. I mean, some people had them go back to the Super Bowl, and I get it. You had a lot of injuries. We can sit here and point excuses. Debo was out. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, Madden Curse was out. I think Ayuk might have been out for a couple games as well. Their defense was banged up and everything. So I appreciate what they're doing where they're saying, okay, well, we had a lot of excuses. Let's just kind of re-up this year and see how we do. No, let's go ahead and bring in Robert Saleh. Let's go ahead and bring in Gus Bradley. Like, I appreciate a team that is never stagnant, that's never going to depend on excuses, that's always trying to better themselves. And I think the great teams can do that. So props to the 49ers because I do like what they're doing here. The biggest thing with them, Hamby, I want to get your opinion on too. We're kind of getting sidetracked, but I think it's a legitimate question. Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is entering his final year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
And one would think that San Fran's going to probably have to lock him up this year.
Right.
Oh, I mean, I guess now would be the time to lock him up if you do believe in Brock Purdy. So 2 questions for you, Jason Hamby. Do you believe in Brock Purdy and giving him a new contract, making him the franchise guy? And then question number 2, if you do and so believe him, where is he going to rank in terms of the top highest paid quarterbacks? Because inflation is a thing.
Yeah, this one's a fascinating one.
It's crazy, right? Because 2 years ago, oh yeah, throw the Brinks truck at him. Now, I don't know.
And you're right. That's why it's also fascinating because how you answer the question of Brock Purdy will say almost everything you need to know about what you personally believe about system versus player, right? And I feel like we've had this conversation way more in recent years than we ever have, whether the system makes the quarterback or the quarterback would be good without the system. But let me look. So last year, Brock Purdy, 20 touchdowns, 12 picks in 15 games. So he missed 2 games. He threw for almost 4,000 yards. Okay, so very pedestrian numbers. If you're 20 and 12, that's very pedestrian. Okay, it's not terrible, but it's not great. And again, yes, he was without some big time receivers. My opinion,
Christian McCaffrey. Well.
Yeah. My opinion is that it's not hard to find quarterbacks that fit your system. It is hard to find franchise guys. We see NFL teams year after year after year struggle to find a franchise quarterback.
Sure.
Okay, Jacksonville struggled to do it for 20 years. We did.
Sure, yeah.
We struggled to find
Hey, man.
No.
I was there.
I know. You were there.
I was a part of it. You don't got to tell me anything. I got you.
So, and even when we did, right, we thought we did, there were years of consistency with David Garrard, right? And he doesn't get enough credit.
But by far the best quarterback that I played with here in Jacksonville, hands down. Yes.
Right. And I'm saying since Brunell, okay, because Brunell counts 100%. But since then, so Garrard and then Bortles, you had a stretch, but that's not a franchise quarterback. A franchise quarterback is a guy that you pin your whole organization on for multiple contracts. That's how I would define it. Okay,
sure. And to echo your point here, Hamby, a guy like Jared Goff,
right,
wasn't a franchise guy with the Rams, and a lot of people said, and they said he was the S word, And by the S word, I mean he was a system quarterback.
Right. Game manager.
And then game manager. They upgrade to Matthew Stafford, and they get a Super Bowl. Now, Jared Goff goes to Detroit, I feel like, as a filler.
Right.
But then all of a sudden he shows something where it's like, okay, well, maybe this guy is actually the real deal given the opportunity. So then it kind of comes back to Brock Purdy, Hamby, where do you buy in him being the franchise guy? Or if you're San Fran, do you trade him? Do you let him go? And all of a sudden he goes someplace else, and guess what? Maybe he was a franchise guy all along.
Yeah. Look, to be to answer it right off the bat, you sign him and you sign him to big dollars. Okay. Part of it is because I do believe you could build a franchise around him. Okay. He's not Daniel Jones, guys. He's not Daniel Jones. Okay. You can build a franchise around him. Even if you're like so on the fence about him as an individual player, what else are you gonna do? Who else are you gonna get? This draft class, no.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. One, age. Two, I don't think he's better. I just don't think he's better. Okay?
Yeah, that's fair.
And you want continuity from your quarterback. You want, from everything that we've heard, and like Brock Purdy's the perfect guy as far as the attributes that you want off the field from your franchise quarterback. He embodies every single one of them. Okay? This year's quarterback class coming out, not very good. Now, could they prove us all wrong? Absolutely. Absolutely,
Sure.
they could. But relative to other years, this one is a down year. And even if it was up, the 49ers are not in a position to go get one of the top 2 or 3 guys anyway. Okay, there's nobody out there in free agency that would be heads above.
Phonics got a good guy. What about Sam Darnold, though?
I don't think he's heads above Brock Purdy. If there's a guy that was available that.
Okay.
So here's where I'm at with the 49ers. If I'm in their building, they probably believe their health away from going back to the Super Bowl.
Agreed.
Okay? If they were health and we're a quarterback away from the Super Bowl, then you go out and you go get a guy. Then you go out and try to find somebody who's available. But I firmly believe that they believe that Brock Purdy is able to get him back there. Okay? There's like Sam Darnold.
That's the thing. Brock Purdy has been to a Super Bowl. Now,
He's
granted,
been.
You can call him a game manager all you want, but he has been to a Super Bowl. That's on the resume.
Right. So I think you pay him. You say, look.
Okay, so listen, Hamby. I agree with you here. I think Brock Purdy is the franchise guy. Yeah, you can probably bring Sam Darnold in for a cheaper price, but the story, Mr. Irrelevant, elevated to a starting quarterback in San Fran, and now he's kind of the guy. Like, I get all of that. But then the second question is, if we do believe, I think we're on the same page here, he is a franchise guy, cool. How much you paying him? Because can you justify, like, imagine, you remember how people felt about Trevor Lawrence getting top 3 money?
Yeah.
How are people going to feel if you give Brock Purdy top 5 money?
They wouldn't. Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can give him
So
top 5.
it's not going to be that? Because, okay.
I think you can. I know. So, and it's the going rate, right? And Tua got it. So they probably will have to. And they're probably going to catch flack with it. At the same time, it's the going rate. So are they going to... Here's my thing. Are they going to overpay Brock Purdy? Yes.
That's hands down, yes.
Is it okay? In my opinion, yes. It's
If
okay.
that's your franchise, sure.
Because you can't really say, hey, we like you, and we want to give you a 5-year deal, but we can only give you 30 a year when everybody else who's in the same situation as you just got 55. The other part of this is this is not how NFL front offices think and operate. Okay. But if they were to rely on the relationship and the common sense, Brock Purdy took you to a Super Bowl. Brock Purdy has sustained success, and you were paying him NFL equivalent of minimum wage to do it.
For sure.
A penny's on the dollar compared to what everybody else is. Again, this is not how NFL front offices work. They don't back pay. They can't, or else they'd all be screwed. Right? If you paid people going forward what they should have gotten, I get it. But part of me is like, a little common sense. He took you to a Super Bowl. If you overpay him by a couple of million, hey, you just paid him what, like $1 million each of the last couple of years, which is literally nothing. He deserves, or he's earned, a little bit of money for those last couple of years. Again, not how they think, but if they overpay him by $5 million, it's not the end of the world. You saved $50 million or $30 million, however many you want to say. You still saved a ton of it over these last 3.
Here's the one thing though, Hamby, right? And we see this all the time in the NFL. When you give the quarterback franchise type money, that changes the whole roster around, right? Because teams absolutely love paying their quarterbacks at that rookie price.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it almost gives you like a buffer zone of whatever, 3 or 4 years where you can spend money over here, spend money on your defense, do all this stuff. And once again, I'm not disagreeing with you. I do think Brock Purdy is a franchise quarterback, and go and think Jared Goff because of that. I feel like if Jared Goff didn't do his thing in Detroit, I'd probably sit here and say, you know what? If you want to go sign Sam Darnold, you want to take a flyer on Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, have at it. But ever since I saw Jared Goff, I'm like, man, if you think you got something there, you got to hang on to it. The biggest thing, though, Hamby, is now, are you confident when you get – because I think you're making top 5 money. Like, it's just the way that it works. Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's the way that it is. So I expect Brock Purdy to get in that top 5 category. At least if I'm his agent, I'm asking for top 5 money because it's how the NFL works. Do you have faith in him that maybe you lose a Kittle, maybe you lose a Samuel, maybe you lose some key guys on defense? Is he going to have the prowess to elevate his team around him and be successful? Or is this a guy that needs great players around him to shine?
Yeah. And this is where, if I'm the 49ers, I look at the Eagles and I say, man, if Christian McCaffrey can be healthy, then it does. If we have to take away an Ayuk and not pay Ayuk, or was Ayuk franchise tagged, or did they sign him to the huge deal?
I'm pretty sure he got the new deal, didn't he?
Okay, yeah.
I'm not confident.
Okay, so say they lose Debo. They don't re-sign Debo in a year or two, or whenever his contract's up.
Yeah.
I look at the Eagles and I say, look, we're going to ride our running back, and we're going to give it to him 25 times. When healthy, McCaffrey can take that kind of workload. It's just he hadn't been able to do it.
Can you do it? Yeah.
Right. And that's a lot to pin on one player. But successful, and I feel like with Shanahan and Shanahan's ego, which in a lot of ways he should have, you cannot replace Christian McCaffrey. However, without Christian McCaffrey, they still at times on offense played pretty daggone well, in this past season. Now their defense I thought was really what hurt them. Their offense was not near as good as what it could have been. Injuries again, McCaffrey out, got it. But if they restore their defense and McCaffrey's hurt, and McCaffrey is healthy, then if Debo's gone, I'm not that mad. I'm not that scared. I still think we can 49er football, right? And go back to a deep playoff runs.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch, right? Because I think for the most part, and this is speaking from just solely a Jacksonville fan base point, like I understand that Trevor Lawrence has haters, but I think overall, when Trevor Lawrence got the bag, we weren't riding in the streets, you know? Like, I feel like everybody understood what the thing was. It's like, okay, there's really no other option. He was the first pick. Like, you're going to take the risk on him, right? And hopefully that it pans out. Hopefully we get an offensive coordinator or a head coach that can call plays, and hopefully you surround, great players around him, Brian Thomas Jr. being one of those, and hopefully that all works out. I feel like there's more of a risk, though, with Brock Purdy. And I'm very curious to see how it all shakes out. Because, and listen, if I'm Brock Purdy, like, forget trying to do this organization a favor at San Francisco. Oh, yeah, I was the last pick of the draft. Yeah, I'll take whatever I can get. I'm making rookie minimum. I'm making last pick of the draft kind of money. I'll go ahead and take a discount here because, it's the home team. Nah, man. Like, if I'm Brock Purdy, I'm trying to get every single cent. I got to pay my offensive lineman. What did he give his offensive lineman this past season? Which made zero sense.
Yeah.
Hey, how does that work? NFL investigate immediately. Hey,
imagine if they don't resign him now.
Investigate the 49ers immediately. Dude's probably in debt. Dude's probably gonna take, $20 million a year just to try to pay those cars back.
I mean, what if he asked the 49ers to foot the bill?
There we go. Maybe.
Prepay.
At the end of the day, I think it's gonna be, and I can't remember what other quarterbacks are slated to get paid here pretty soon, but I think he's kind of like the next one to fall in line here. If I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be interesting.
It will be. We're going to pivot real quick.
Pivot away, man.
We got more Super Bowl talk on the way. Super Bowl this Sunday on Fox 30. But the Daytona 500 is also right around the corner.
Nice.
And, that's a huge thing for us, and that's a huge thing for Stuart Weber. Action Sports Jack Stuart Weber, and he sat down with the Daytona track president, Frank Kelleher, and we want to play this conversation for you. Very interesting. This is Stuart Weber with Daytona track president, Frank Kelleher.
Oh, and the hardware is in town. Something special is right around the corner, and here it is, the Harley J. Earl Trophy. And joining me in studio right now, Frank Kelleher, track president at Daytona International Speedway, and Speed Weeks. It's basically here.
It's here, man.
It's here. We're excited for 68th running of the Daytona 500 and so much excitement around this year's race.
That's right. We have the hardware here, the Harley J. Earl Trophy. We've got our security team that drove it up here, and the white glove treatment sitting here on the table. I know there are going to be 40, maybe 41 hungry drivers staring at me next Sunday, February 16th, wishing to take that home when we display it in our drivers meeting. And it's an exciting day, 67th running of the Daytona 500, to greet the winner in Mobil 1 Victory Lane and hand this bad boy over. It's going to be a big day.
Before we talk about the race, let's talk about that moment for you as the track president. There's a lot of eyes on you, a lot of pressure as you're the one who gets to present that trophy in Victory Lane. What's that experience like for you as the track president?
It's wild, man. I mean, my story, I started as an intern the summer of 2002. Born and raised in Pennsylvania, drove down from Scranton, PA to do an internship in Daytona Beach. Really learned the business side of the sport, and I just thought quickly of, man, if I can't make it as a racer, because I was racing with the World Karting Association, how cool would it be to work in motorsports? So to be with the company, with NASCAR for 22 years and now the last 4 years as president of Daytona, there still is that racer in me, the kid who grew up a race fan, that have to pinch myself. So it's a big opportunity. I look at it as, Stuart, like I'm a steward of the sport.
Sure.
And it's my job to make sure that we maintain, protect what has been built prior to me, and to look for ways to elevate it. So all day Sunday, there's a lot happening. There's a lot going on with the Thunderbirds flying over, our pre-race show. All of those drivers, this is their Super Bowl event weekend. It's their Super Bowl race. And it's an honor to be in this role and to be in Victory Lane, and just feeling that passion and that fire from the winning driver and their whole team being there. I have to remind them that this trophy is heavy. It weighs 54 pounds, and our drivers are athletes and they're strong men. But after wrestling a car for 500 miles, they might be a little wobbly when I'm handing this over. So all in all, it's a lot of fun, and it's a true privilege.
I can relate, by the way, as far as those expectations and dreams changing real quickly as a sports guy.
Yeah.
I found at a very early age, I'm going to be a little better maybe behind this microphone than I am out there on the field. So I certainly get that aspect, and it's awesome that you're able to play such a huge role in this great American race at the World Center of Racing. Let's talk a little bit more about this trophy, right? We talk about some of the iconic trophies when it comes to NASCAR. You got a grandfather clock at Martinsville. I thought the one they created for the for the Clash, the Cookout Clash here, recently, the Bobby Allison Memorial Trophy, that was a really cool trophy, and this ranks right up there with all of them in motorsports.
Yeah, no doubt. It's It's a very iconic piece. It's got a really cool story. To your viewers, listeners, who is Harley J. Earl? Harley J. Earl, he was the OG, the original designer for cars at General Motors. So if you think about it, when you think about prototypes and what the car of the future could look like, he was that guy. He was that designer for General Motors. And the car that sits on top, that's the Firebird 1. So that was Harley J. Earl dreaming of what a car could look like to break barriers, to break boundaries of speed. So he was the original designer for General Motors, then went on to be one of the very first commissioners with NASCAR. So he was really good buddies with Bill France, our founder. So in 1998, felt that the timing was right to do a nod to Harley J. Earl, hence the Harley J. Earl trophy that's sitting right here. The base of it is made out of acrylic. That is pure silver on the top. That is the Firebird 1 that sits up on top. And this year, 2025, it's a big nod to the Firebird 1 that when you see our ball field where it says Daytona, you're going to see an image of the Firebird 1 behind it. General Motors Chevrolet is our pace vehicle this year. They're going to bring out a really special car as well that we haven't announced yet what that's going to be. But next week, we've got a ton of really big announcements from celebs and stars. So weighs 54 pounds, as I mentioned, came out in 1998. I think we all remember who won the Daytona 500, none other than Dale Earnhardt in 1998. He was the first recipient of this. Since then, we have had 20 additional winners. We've had some repeat winners. The only back-to-back winner, Denny Hamlin. William Byron, he was excited to take this trophy home last February. I think he would love another one on the mantle, so I'm sure that 24 machine, I know they're going to be ready to rip in Daytona, as well as all of the drivers that are showing up Wednesday for qualifying and Thursday's duel as well.
This is the 54-pound one. There's an even bigger one, right?
Oh,
That they put on display. Does that one stay in your office?
It does not. We do keep that one locked away, and that's where your name goes on it forever. I mean, it's got to be 10 times the size.
Has to be. Yeah, we see it at Media Day every year.
Yeah, it is just, it takes your breath away of how big it is and just how cool it is.
Yeah, without a doubt. You talk about some of those big names who maybe don't have one of these on the shelf at home to display. Kyle Busch. Martin Truex Jr., that's an interesting story, right? You talk about a guy who's full-time retired but says, I'm going to give it another go, and I want to go win that Harley J. Earl.
He's retired, but he still has the fire in the tank, and I'm really excited for him that he has this opportunity to get behind the wheel of some really great equipment, and he's coming here to win the race. I mean, just mic drop, that is it.
Points don't matter.
Yeah, points do not matter. He's not here to secure sponsorship. He is here to put a helmet on and be a race car driver, go get the job done. So excited to see him behind the wheel. Again, Jimmy Johnson, he's got a few of these trophies. He wants one more. He as well needs to race his way in as well. And I'm really excited about Junior Motorsports and their entry. Junior Motorsports with Justin Allgaier, defending Xfinity Series champion. They announced that they are buying their ticket and they are trying to race their way into the Daytona 500 with Allgaier behind the wheel, Chris Stapleton and Travelers Whiskey on that car. So it's going to bring a lot of PR, a lot of comms, just a lot of energy around that entry. And I'm excited for Justin. He is such an awesome champion. He's such a great man and just a great steward of NASCAR. He knows how to get the job done. Elio Castroneves,
that's such a cool storyline.
He's trying to punch his ticket as well to into being an immortal Daytona 500 race winner. He's already won the Rolex 24 3 times, but he has not brought this hardware home yet.
Yeah, it's funny. We talked about it a couple weeks ago at the Rolex 24, but you ran out of things for Dale Earnhardt Jr. to do at the race.
Right.
He's waved the flag, he's driven the pace car, he's given the command. So it's why not go be a car owner and see if you can get your vehicle there into the great American race. So lots of excitement, of course, coming up for the Daytona 500. Cannot wait for this race to arrive, and yeah, we'll see who comes out on top on on Sunday at the World Center of Racing.
That's right. Sunday's going to be a big day. And for us, we were chatting prior to this, Super Bowl predictions, all of that. For myself and for our team, our infield opens up this weekend. There are campers that will be moving in this weekend, getting ready for the Great American Race. On Tuesday night, we do a really big free and fun community event. So all of the cup haulers, they'll be at One Daytona, which is across the street from Daytona International Speedway. It's a free event, great event to bring some kids out to. We've got live music, food, again, hauler showcase that'll take place on Tuesday. And then Wednesday is qualifying presented by Busch Light. So we'll set the front row for that event. We also do a camper fest for all of our campers. Free event, free food, free beer. We're going to have a band set up on the Hard Rock Bet Fan Zone stage. So that's a big night. And then Thursday's duel is going to set the field for the Daytona 500. There's a lot of racers, a lot of big names that need to race their way in. Friday night's truck race. That's a great event. Kids 12 and under get in for free. Adult tickets start at just $49. Saturday's a doubleheader, the Arca Menard Series, sponsored by Chili's Ride the Dente 200. Green flag waves around noon. And then around 5 o'clock, we will have the NASCAR Xfinity Series United Rental 300. So great doubleheader event, $49. Gets you in the gate for both events. Again, kids 12 and under for free. And every event, you still could bring a cooler in. So load it up. Favorite drinks, snacks, come on in. And then it all just leads up to Sunday's Great American Race, the 67th running of the Daytona 500. The Thunderbirds will be in town. Again, make sure you're following all of our social channels. We've got a lot of announcements from who is going to be giving the command, waving the green flag. We already know that Pitbull is going to be doing the pre-race show. So it's the biggest day in motorsports all year, the Great American Race, and we couldn't be more excited.
I was going to say, when you had to pick a team owner to perform the concert before the race, it was Rick Hendrick, Pitbull. Let's maybe go with Pitbull for that performance.
We'll take the music guy.
That's right. Of course, last year he was going to do it, but the rain struck, and he said, you know what, I'm coming back next year. We're going to do this thing, and that's going to be a great part of Sunday at the Daytona 500. Frank Keller, thank you so much for joining us here on Action Sports Jax 24/7.
Thanks for having me here. I'll see you at the track.
All right, there you have it. That's Stuart Weber with Frank Kelleher, and you can catch a lot more stuff just like that every Wednesday. Stuart brings you the Cup date on Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Again, every Wednesday, we'll have replays throughout the week of that with the Daytona 500 right around the corner. When we get back, we'll have our Super Bowl predictions and maybe a prop or two, and we'll get you all set for Sunday night in New Orleans.
It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now, the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jax Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever.
Cozy up to the bar. Grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant, or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield, try the popular beer menu and come for lunch or dinner too, because the food is fantastic. He's got some exciting news heading into 2025 as well. Christian Kirk. It's where we hosted Jags Report Live in the football season, and the String Sports Brewery staff can't wait to host you. Hey, welcome back here to String Sports Brewery. And if you haven't checked out the new location in Jax Beach, which many of you have, you got to do it. String Sports Brewery, now with 2 locations in Springfield, and now open in Jax Beach on Penman Road.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Kruzanovich's under-23 men's team.
Listen to the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years, and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit Bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com.
The Tom Bush family of dealerships, they've been serving customers in the Jacksonville area for 55 years. They've been your go-to spot to get and stay on the road since 1970, and that's still the case here in 2025 and beyond, even if the cars have changed just a little bit.
Check out the sleek line of vehicles of the future. That's right, electric vehicles. Tom Bush offers a full lineup of reliable electric cars with state-of-the-art service facilities. Like the new VinFast, Tom Bush is among the first dealers in the entire country to offer the VinFast, and let me tell you, this thing is sweet. The good folks at Tom Bush have all the info on charging, service, tax credits, and everything you need to keep your EV running smoothly. BMW, Mazda, Volkswagen, Mini, and the newly offered VinFast. There's something for everyone at the Tom Bush family of dealerships. Ready to join the Tom Bush family? Stop by the showroom or check out the inventory online at tombush.com.
Everyone loves a good game night. Here you don't have to be the host. You don't have to clean up. They bring the food and drinks to you, and you can watch whatever you want on the big screens. It's more than a card room. It's a night full of fun with friends. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and now the newest location here in St. Augustine, right off 95 at exit 311. A brand new clean room, a full bar and menu, my favorite sushi in town. And I love the fries too. You don't have to just play poker at Best Bet. That's why I come over here to the table games and play one card poker. That's a pretty good card and a win. One card poker is like war as a kid, you against the dealer. And this isn't the only fun table game to play. A friendly staff, a lot of fun. It's a good night out at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and the newest location in St. Augustine. You can be a serious player or a novice. It doesn't matter. If winning equals fun, you're a winner every time at Best Bet. I'll save you a seat, and I'll see you down here at Best Bet St. Augustine.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Oh, what do we have here? I feel bad for the man in the middle for what he's about to endure from Austin. This is Austin. Let me set the scene here before you go too in on my boy here. Okay,
I mean, I'm going all in, but please just set the table here.
Okay, so today is Team Spirit Day in the Action News Jax workplace. Okay. In celebration of Super Bowl Sunday being on Fox 30, we have a little dress up competition. Show your team spirit. Any team will do. Okay. And so our boy Tennessee Nick, decked out in the overalls, the shoes. Don't forget the shoes. And
the hat,
so these are our three winners. And the man in the middle, I feel bad for him.
Can I ask what the person on the left is representing for a team? Just Team Witches?
No, that looks like Team New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
The sign. And I apologize. Actually, this is a great job because I don't know who this is, so she deserves extra points. Because it says just here for the commercials. The sign does.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
okay, yep. Okay.
And then we have Miss Cavina on the right.
To the right.
It looks like we have a nice Jags Legends shirt, and I believe that she did a little face to mimic the Jags. If I can, wish I could zoom in a little bit more, but nonetheless, we'll keep the focus on our man in the middle.
I mean, listen, man. It's Nick right there.
Wait,
You know what I'm
scoot
saying?
over a little bit. Scoot over.
Oh, sorry, yeah, because I'm in the
Too massive.
He's essentially just the.
Oh,
God.
God.
I mean, he is the big boy. You know what I'm saying? And like he's even got the same smile. Sorry, man. It's hard for me to like try to balance this. Like here.
A little bit more. A little bit more. A little bit. That's perfect. Perfect.
There we go. What up, Nick?
Wow. Dang.
Rocky Top, baby. Rocky Top.
He got a
That's all I
hat.
got for him.
He got a
That's
hat
all I
out of
got
it.
for him. Can you believe that for the wedding, there's not going to be any orange? Or it's going to be subtle, like maybe socks or a pendant or something?
I'm not doing any Georgia stuff.
Is your girl a Georgia fan?
No ball. She's not a ball knower in any senses of the word.
Have we been over what are your official colors? Because black and red would kind of pop at a wedding, I feel like. But
She's doing sunset, pretty colors. You know how it goes.
So are you just kind of putting in cruise control and kind of letting her do her thing, and you're just kind of like whatever, there for emotional support?
Yeah, I mean, if it were up to me, everything would be red and black. But
I got you. That's fair. That's fair, man.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. And I'm perfectly fine with that. All right.
Yeah, you should be.
Here we go. Super Bowl 59.
Yes.
Okay. As we've said, Chiefs are -1.5.
Yep.
First, before we get to a final score or anything like that, tell me how you think the first half is going to go. Because if it were up to me, this is part of the reason why I loved that prop that we talked about yesterday. 2 field goals made, or one, both teams make a field goal over 33.5 yards. Because the offenses are too good. On one side, Saquon's too good. On the other side, that whole scheme, Andy Reid with time to prepare, is too good for these teams not to move the ball.
Yep.
So first, go ahead. You got it.
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, before I get into that, let me just say, I've said on this for 2 weeks. Well, I mean, a little short than 2 weeks, but essentially 2 weeks. Kind of longer, but we'll say 2 weeks.
It's tough to sit on a game for 2 weeks.
Well, I'm not sitting on the game for 2 weeks. I'm sitting on something else for 2 weeks that I've even brought to the table in terms of maybe we did our preseason predictions. Maybe somebody on the show. Oh, and you better believe I'm going to drop this right now, man, because we've had 2 weeks to bring it up. No one's brought it up, so I'll bring it myself. And I get
thought about it every day.
Austen, aren't you tired of always being right? How do you stay so humble? You know what? I wish I could tell you. I wish that we could pay up our bets. I wish that we could go back in time and play the old audio of Hamby's predictions of the Jaguars and the Packers in the Super Bowl you had, I think it was.
Yep.
I wish we could go back in time and play Brent Martineau's predictions of the Jets and the Dallas Cowboys. Yikes. Yeah. We even had Emmitt Smith come on the show, and Emmitt Smith was like, what are you doing? So you know it's bad. Well, yeah, one of us out of the 3 amigos might have had the Eagles, might have had the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And we don't got to replay the audio. It's all good. I went back and listened to it myself, right? Because I had to bask in the glory, had to bask in the greatness. And Brent's going to say, you really like being right. Yeah, I do like being right. And you know what? It seems to happen a lot on this show. So, yes, one person on this show had the Chiefs and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. That person was me. And now, obviously, I got to see this through because if you remember how the conversation went, I had the Chiefs winning for the 3-peat. So, Hamby, to answer your question now, that I had to give myself my own flowers.
No way.
I think it's going to be a very high-scoring affair. And I think that both teams will be putting up some points in the first and second half.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. If one offense struggles, which offense will it be?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't see either offense, but if I'm going to pick one, you'd almost got to go with the Chiefs, right? Because once again, I feel like and I don't want to make this mistake because that's still the Chiefs winning.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the Eagles are just too big to fail on either side. Like, like their defense is pretty solid, obviously. Their offense can beat you a lot of ways. So to answer the question, I think if an offense was to sputter and lose control, it'd be the Chiefs.
I agree, because look, you think if Philly's defense can shut down the run or get a lead, they can really let those pass rushers just pin the ears back and wreak some havoc. And then Patrick Mahomes, if he's blitzed effectively, the problem with NFL teams and why he's had so much success is because they blitz him and they don't get to him. He's a very hard guy to get to. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's when he cooks the most. That's when he's at his best. That's when he makes Mahomes type plays that Romo was salivating about. Is when you rush him and you don't keep contained, he gets out of the pocket, and then you're cooked for 50 yards down the field. But
and I want to ask you, go ahead.
If they can keep contained, and this is what every team has tried to do, but it just seems like a lot of the teams they played in the past have a guy or two as far as on the edge or on the defensive line or at the linebacking position. The Eagles, the whole unit. It's really the whole unit. So I'm thinking now that I think about it, the 49ers, I liked their unit as a whole last year, and that didn't really help them that much. Okay, it doesn't matter. Neither offense is going to struggle, I don't think. Talk myself out of it. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this, though, before we get into maybe some props and everything. I think we're on the same page. Could be a high-scoring affair. Who's going to be the leading wide receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs? Or, correction, who's going to be because you throw the tight ends in this as well. Who's going to be the leading receiver, not wide receiver, who's going to be the leading receiver of the Kansas City Chiefs?
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Dude, honestly, you can go so many ways with it, right? And this is the thing that the Chiefs do so well. They feature different players week in and week out. Yeah, maybe smart money's on Travis Kelce, big-time game. Taylor's going to be there. Does he propose? All this stuff. Could be Travis Kelce. Xavier Worthy seems to be kind of the dependable guy now with Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
He's the speedster. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's DeAndre Hopkins. Keep in mind, DeAndre Hopkins.
Still on the team.
Receiver, good hands. Still on the team. Smith-Schuster. Is it Justin Watson?
Yeah.
White dude? Yep. Noah, so there's so many ways that you can go. And it's absolutely insane where I think the smart money might be unworthy because he's kind of, I think, the most dependable guy.
And he's still emerging.
To your point, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Watson or, Smith-Schuster have a big game out of nowhere.
It's crazy. You also would be surprised if Smith-Schuster had one catch for 13 yards.
No, without a doubt. And now I'm going to say on the other side of the ball, with Philly, I get A.J. Brown gets a lot of love. I feel like this is going to be, because if you look at the slot corner for Kansas City, not the best. I think it could be a big Devontae Smith game.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with that. I remember the A.J. Brown touchdown in the first episode of the Super Bowl 2 years ago. But if I remember right, as far as quantity of plays, Devontae Smith made a lot of plays.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown made that huge play, but it does kind of seem like, to me, that the Eagles really have to, they scheme up ways to get A.J. Brown the ball, and it's very intentional, and they have to think about ways to get him the ball. Devontae happens naturally.
Correct. Hollywood Brown, too, by the way, in the comments. You see, this is the problem. I completely, and he had some catches last game. I completely forget about Hollywood Brown.
Yeah. By the way, every time I see Xavier Worthy, number one, I always still think it's Jerick McKinnon. I can't help myself.
There's a pull.
Because he's been, it seems like he's been on every Super Bowl team that they've had, even though he hasn't been. And he was obviously number one. But anyway, as we wrap things up with about a minute to go, give me your score prediction and MVP.
Listen, it's not a prediction, Hamby. It's a spoiler. Because when Austen Lane makes football predictions on this show,
here we go.
They're usually right. Who had Tank Bigsby have more touchdowns than Travis Etienne? This guy. Who had, in terms of fantasy relevancy, the best wide receiver on the Jaguars? Who had Brian Thomas Jr.? This guy. Who called Trayvon Walker was going to out-sack Josh Hines-Allen? This guy. Who called Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl? This guy. The flowers are in place, okay? The flowers have been received. I gave myself the flowers. Go ahead and give me the Kansas City Chiefs 34, Eagles 31. And let's go ahead and put some lights behind that because, once again, it's not working
It worked earlier.
It worked earlier. Now it's not working again. Unbelievable. There we go.
Wow.
There we go. Now we're back, everybody. Yeah, so I have 34-31. Let's go. Hamby, what do you got?
All right, I got the Chiefs. I got a slightly lower score in. I got a couple more field goals. I'm going to go 27-24. If it's even close and it's a one-score game, Mahomes is going to win it. You know better than to bet against him. So with that being the case, I can't wait for the Eagles to score to beat them by 2 touchdowns. And because of that, we're going to end the show by showing the only thing that I do know, and that is that there's a bunch of dogs in the Super Bowl.
Oh, my God.
Once again, we have to end it this way. We got 8 dogs in the Super Bowl. 6 of them actually are playing, but 8 on the roster. So forget the halftime show. Forget the score. Forget the shots of Taylor Swift.
Managers in there.
Lock in on these dudes and have a night. We will see you next Monday. Thank you for watching the Brent and Austen Show.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
Just be yourself. Maybe we're talking about being a dad or a mom, a first responder or a teacher. Maybe it's a sports fan. We love those. We're talking about anyone in the Jacksonville community. At Community First Credit Union, just be yourself means being real. When you partner with Community First, it's straightforward. They're people connecting with you so you can be yourself. I've been coming here to Community First for years. This is the Bartram branch, the one I usually come to. And they have mortgage loans, personal loans, and auto loans. And I'm almost done paying off that truck loan. Just a few more months. Good rates, easy online banking, and friendly customer service when I have a question. It's easy to be myself with Community First. They live up to the slogan in their name. Community First has partnerships in the Jacksonville community with the Iceman, the Florida Theater, the Jacksonville Zoo, and many more. Visit one of the Jacksonville branches or find out all you can do with Community First Credit Union at communityfirstfl.org so you can just be yourself.
For the game day hustle and every day in between, juggling my show Jags Social to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe